Have you ever wondered how to work with an application and store the data in a database in offline mode? Many of you are willing to actually build that kind of an application. In this video, we are going to use SQLite as our database in which we are going to build an offline database and manage our application in offline mode. We are going to perform all the CRUD operation and everything. So this is going to be a very exciting video. Watch it till the end. And if you haven't checked our website yet, go and check out right now. A lot of offers are going on, and do check out membership program too. In fact, you have lots of offers in the membership program. What are you waiting for? Go and enroll right now. You get an opportunity to get in touch with me and we can start learning all together. So go and check all of it in the description. It's time to start the video. Let's get started. Now what you need to do? Well, simply go to the browser and search for Capacitor SQLite. What plugins you're going to get? You're going to get the Capacitor community plugin at first, and I have opened that up. Also, I've opened the NPM package too. So this is the NPM package which is published 2 years ago. So it is still working, not a problem. But if you want the exact latest fresh things, definitely you can check other plugins. There are some paid plugins which are available. I made videos on Capawesome SQLite plugin also, which is quite smooth to work with. You can check that out. Otherwise, if you want free, definitely you can check out the community plugin, which I'm going to build today. So in the Capacitor community plugin, what am I going to do? This is how we are going to install it up. So in order to install it, we have to create a project and go ahead with that, right? In the previous lecture, I have already explained how to build an home automation application. So this is the design which we have already built. Okay. Now we are going to move ahead of it. So this design, we are going to transform it with the help of SQLite. So what does it mean? We are going to keep all these rooms with the help of SQLite database. So we are going to create everything dynamically and keep it here. Along with that, all the devices that we have within each room, we are going to keep all of that in a dynamic manner in our SQLite database. That is what we are going to do in offline mode. And for that, definitely we need to use this particular plugin. So let's install it up in this particular project. If you haven't checked this lecture yet, go and check out the previous lecture at first. So let me install it by running the plugin. Hit enter, it will get installed. We're going to run this application in Android and iOS, not in web, because in web it is not working properly. We have to do a lot of configuration, but my main priority is to show you that it works smoothly in iOS and Android. So we are going to focus mainly on Android and iOS. All right, let me make it very clear to you at first. Later on, if needed, let me see if we can implement it in web or not, but not in this particular lectures. If needed, I'll bring another lectures if that works properly in web, but there are certain issues which are not getting fixed as of now. Now, after installing the plugin, I'm not going to run the second command, because for the second command, we need to have Android and iOS platform in ready, which we are going to work with in some time. Don't need to worry. Let's first check what all things do we need to do. We need to do something in capacitor.config.json file, but actually we have capacitor.config.ts file in the latest versions. So if we are working with that, definitely we have to make some changes accordingly, right? It's not being given, so you don't have to pass the double quotes here. You can simply pass the value directly. We have these three things. Bundle web runtime, I think if we cannot pass it up probably. Let me just try it. No, look at that. If I try to pass it up, it's giving me an error saying that object literal may only specify known properties and bundled web runtime does not exist in the capacitor config. So if it does not exist, we cannot pass it up. So you have to be very careful with the things that you're doing. So we have to pass this plugin part. In the plugin, we will pass the Capacitor SQLite part. So what actually we need to do? Don't need to worry. I'm going to explain you everything. Here, I'm going to simply pass plugins in this particular manner. Look at that, what have I done? So I have passed the plugins and within that Capacitor SQLite. So basically I have removed the double quotes and rest of the things is the same. From the key, every key should not have any double quote, and if you're passing a boolean value or some integer directly, then don't pass any double quotes there. That's the thing you need to remember. Rest is the same. All right. Okay. So I have passed the same stuff. No changes at all, I think. Probably the names and everything, little bit of changes there. iOS keychain prefix, what is there? It's just written cap. So I've renamed as per my requirement, or you can change whatever you want. Let me just change it to, let's say, home automation SQLite app. Simple. Okay, I'm getting some suggestions because I'm using some AI tools integrated with the help of extensions, but you can disable I'm not going to use that a lot, so don't need to worry. Now, once this is done, what is the next step? Well, we can add the Android and iOS platform, right? But I'm going to change the app ID, which is very, very important. So the app name and app ID, I'm going to change to my one, like com.techniques.home automation app. You can name it as per your requirement. Let me just have home automation app. I think it's fine. So I'm going to name it as home automation only. If you want to change the name, definitely you can. There won't be any problem. So this is how I'm going to keep the things. Okay, I don't think we need anything else here. Fine. So far, so good. What's next? Let's check the documentation. So here, if you just scroll down in the documentation, you have web quicks. So capacitor browser support, what exactly you need to do, it's being shown here, but not in depth. So definitely there are a lot of things which you might miss out. And it's said that you have to pass this up, but if we pass this up, definitely it's not being taken. Now for web, you can just go for installation of all these things with the help of PNPM or directly with NPM also, doesn't matter. Okay, so just go ahead with these two plugins. But again, I'm saying that for web, just installing the plugins won't work. You have to do certain more tasks. Still, I think it's not working as properly as we want. So I'm going to skip that part and move ahead to the Android part. In Android, if you face any kind of a trouble, definitely you can pass it in your app folder, then build.gradle. It is being said. And we have to change the version as per the requirement. I think if you pass the latest version, here still it's fine, because I think this is a different version of SQLite possibly. Let me just check the documentation, exact documentation which we have. Okay, this is 7.0.2. I think that's the latest version probably that we have. And okay, all right, look at this. This is the latest version. It was, I think, the older version, so you can skip this particular part. Let's check it here. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go for Ionic build at first, because we need the www folder to be working at first. All right, then I'm going to build Android and iOS applications. See, there are a lot of things that I'm going to implement directly, because we cannot check each and everything in Android and iOS, right, every time. So I'm going to run a live reload in order to check it every time whenever we make some changes. So we're going to do and work with that. But sometimes I'm going to explain a bit more how exactly things will work. Okay. All right. Meanwhile, this is being done. Now, after this is being done, we have changed almost everything, whatever was mostly required. So I can go for Ionic Cap, add iOS. And for permissions, we will work later on. Okay. While we go ahead, we will work with the permissions, whatever is needed. Okay. So this is done. Let's go for Android platform 2. Now, both of them are installed and we can go ahead with it. So not a problem. And don't worry if you see capacitor version 7 here, and the capacitor version will change because we have capacitor version 8 coming up. All right. So you don't have to worry. The things will be same. If there are any changes, definitely I'll let you know beforehand. So don't need to worry about anything. Now, once the platforms are added, and of course, it's not coming as of now, so don't need to worry about it. Now we installed the platforms, we have done everything. What next? Well, we have to start building it up, right? So in order to start building, I'll run Ionic live reload later on. But first of all, let's create some services. That's what we need. So Ionic G service, you can type S also in short. Within the services folder, I'm going to create lots of services. First of all, a room service, because we need it for creating a room. And if you want a specific name like room.service.ts file, then either you can pass here room service. No, I can skip it, or I can pass room.service here directly. But let's just pass it directly. It will not create a folder and we'll have two files. Let me just show you what I'm talking about. If I open services, service.ts and service.spec file, I'll have two files and I don't want that. So instead of doing that, let me just delete this two. And I'm going to create again. Okay. This time within the room folder, I'm going to have room dot, let's just service. Let's try this out. What happens if I do that up? So now look at the file name. Earlier, we used to have directly room.service.ts file. You can have it now also, but for that, you have to go to angular.json file and make some changes in your configurations. But if you want it directly still, definitely you can pass it in this particular manner and you will get the file name as room service. Okay. So I've created that up. Similarly, I'm going to create others too, like one for the device. So first of all, the device folder and device service, because we need rooms and devices, different services will be created so that we can manage all things for SQLite, CRUD operations, or anything else in that particular service respective to their pages. So these two are created. Again, we need few more. What is that? Well, one for the SQLite basic configuration, we need a service to handle everything. So SQLite.service, that's what I'm going to create. It's created. Then I'm going to have one for the database creation, because in database we are going to create the tables. So I want to keep everything in a proper manner. That's why different services are very good to manage all the stuff. Wherever we need, we can call that up. Okay. So database.service, that's how I'm going to create one more. Okay, database, SQLite basic configuration, and room and device are created. We need one more service at least to manage the loader, the and toast, and everything else in a dynamic manner so that we can use wherever we want. And to do so, well, what am I going to do? I am going to create another service called global service in this particular manner. Now, this is also created. What else? Do we need anything else? Well, actually we do. We need to create another service for camera setup, because we want to take pictures or in fact take it from the gallery or photos, whatever, for a specific room, right? You can keep that. So I want that, of course, and that is why I am going to have here camera service so that you can use it up. So I think we have created 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 services. Now let's work on it one by one. I'm going to start off with SQLite service to set up the basic configuration and whatever we need to work with in other services for the CRUD operations and anything else. So to start off, I'm going to create a private property. Let me call it SQLite, which will be equals to new SQLite connection, which will hold Capacitor SQLite. So I have to create an instance of SQLite connection, which you can do it directly. And then I'm going to create another private property. Let me call it DB, that will be of type SQLite DB connection. So this is for the database connectivity. It can be null also, that is by initial value I'm passing it as null, or it can be SQLite DB connection. So as soon as we initialize it, it will have the SQLite DB connection values. Then for the database name, let me create a constant. I think that would be fine. So export constant, let me call it DB name equals to, okay, fine, home automation.db, it's fine. Or if you want to pass it in this particular manner, you can do that up. Still, it's okay. All right. So whatever name you want to pass, definitely you can. So the DB name is created, then two properties are created. We have the constructor, but we are not going to initialize anything there. It's already been done. Now it's time to work with some functionality. So I'm going to start off by creating a function called init. You will be used for initializing the database connectivity with SQLite, of course. So what I'm going to do here is, first of all, I need to check if there is a connection already available. For that, I can do one more thing. I can create a read-only signal function, writable signal function. Let me name it as underscore db ready. That will be equals to is writable signal function that will hold the value as false initially. And I'm going to check here. If it is true, then what am I going to do? If this dot underscore, it's your choice. If you don't want to pass underscore, you can simply skip that. It's not mandatory. So if it is true, I'm going to simply return. Otherwise, I'm going to work everything in try catch block so that if we have any error, we'll catch it properly. So if we have an error, I'm going to log the error. And no, I don't want to use finally as of now. Just showing the error is fine, and I can log something here. So I can log something like database init error, in function error, whatever you want to pass, you can simply pass it up. So a nice error, I have just passed it here. Now within the try block, what am I going to do? So I'm going to initialize my database, which will be equals to this dot SQLite dot create connection. So this is the function which I'm going to use actually to create the database connectivity, in which I have to pass the DB name, of course, at first. Then what it takes, you want to keep it encrypted or not? Well, if you pass it as true, you might get some errors. So it's better to pass false. Then what is the mode? Of course, like the suggestion is coming up, no encryption. Then you have what? After mode, you have version. So I pass version as 1. You can pass any version you want. And lastly, read only. So read only, I'm going to pass as false because we want to perform the write operation also. Now, why this is giving me an error? Because this function will return a promise. And in order to get the value out of a promise, we have to use await here. If I use await, the error is gone. But again, there is one issue. Okay, there is an extra bracket. That's fine. Okay, I think I made a mistake. What is that mistake? There is an extra quote. It's gone now. Fine. Now, in order to work with await, we have to pass or make the function asynchronous. Then only it's going to work. And now everything is sorted and we are good to go ahead with it. Now, if you want to work with web, well, I'll just show you the configuration part. If it works for you, then it's great, but it doesn't work that easily. So let me just show you what you have to do here is you have to check if you are in web, then you have to pass init web store functionality from SQLite. So that's what you need to do. I'm going to import the capacitor. So this is what you can pass. That is why I've wrapped it in a condition that if it is web, then only initiate it up, but it's not going to work properly. I know that as of now. I don't know what's the problem that is going on. I tried a lot, but as of now, it's not working. I'll try again. If some configuration issue or some version issue is there, probably some version issue might be there, but I have checked with other version also, still it's not working. Anyways, moving ahead, what we will do, now we have to open the database. For that, I'll use await this dot db since it is initialized now, so we can go ahead. I'm going to call the open function. We have called the open function, but actually the database is open or not. How we are going to track that out? In order to track that out, well, okay, the suggestion is coming up for db ready to set to true. Okay, fine, I need that, but before that I need to do something else too. I want to check if it is open or not, for which I'm going to use is db open function. So this will return me a result, means an object, and within that I'll get a result. So I've renamed it as is open. In this particular manner, I can do that up. So after renaming, basically I'm trying to check if it is true or false. So if it is false, then I'm going to return an error saying that fail to open database. Otherwise, I'm going to simply set db ready to true so that it shows us that the database is running properly. Alright, so this is the basic configuration which we will do inside our SQLite service. And what else do we need to do here? Well, we need to execute some other functionalities which we will be using in every service for CRUD operation or any kind of an operation. So I'm going to set up the basic stuff here so that we don't have to reuse the same functionality. I can directly call it from SQLite. But before that, I'll pass a console log just to check if we get this message or not, database initialized. Then we will come to know that it is working pretty fine. After doing that, then let's create another function. Let's call it run, because the function name will be run here that we are going to use, and it's going to accept statement of type string, and we can pass some values also because it will accept the CRUD operations. And why we need to pass these values, I'm going to explain you in some time. Don't need to worry. I will initialize it to an empty array. Now here is the interesting part. Let's do everything at first within the try catch block. Then I'm going to explain you one by one. So if you caught any kind of an error, I'm going to throw the error and log the error too at the same time. Here, actually, I did a mistake. I'm logging the error twice. So instead of that, I'm going to throw the error here. If there is any, throw error. Fine. All right. Now it's okay. Now here, what exactly we can do? We can execute the run functionality only if we are going for addition, updation, or deletion, not for querying. Means to fetch the data, we are going to use another function, but only for writing operations, you can use run. Okay, that's why we're going to have values here. I hope it's clear to you now. Let's try this out, how it will actually work. Let me make it asynchronous because definitely we are going to use await everywhere. So now let me create a constant which is going to hold the value of await this dot db dot run function, but it will only occur if db is present, of course, because there was certain warning which was coming up. So within this, what do we need to pass? We need to pass the statement and values, if any. So directly pass statement, comma, values. Simple. Now, once we get the result out of it, definitely you can log the result, but let's check it out. What exactly it will hold? See, it will hold cap SQLite changes or undefined. So whatever result I get, I'm going to simply return the result. Fine. And meanwhile, definitely if you're working on web and you want to perform this operation, you have to do minor thing and you can log the value if you want to. But in order to run it in web properly, if it works, of course. So save db to web function, which I'm going to create, don't need to worry. So this function we are going to call for saving everything to web. Basically within this function, I'm going to simply check if we are in web, then I'm going to call save to store functionality and pass the db name. So db name, db underscore name, that's the name we need to pass. That's it. Fine. So run function is ready. Similar way, we have to prepare two more functions. So I'm going to copy it and paste it once again. I'm going to rename the function name as query, which will hold again statement and values. But here I'm going to call query function, all right, which will be used to fetch the records. And actually within that, we are going to get values here in this particular manner. So I can fetch the values. Okay, there's a contradiction here. Don't need to worry. Let me pass the result only, and later on we will do something else. I'm going to show you what exactly I'm going to do. So basically I need to return the result here, for which I will at first check the value. If it is present, then I'm going to pass it up. Otherwise an empty array will be passed, and finally return this particular data, whatever we are getting here. And here SQL query error we might get. Now there is one more thing I need to track. What if while fetching data, my database is not opened up or not ready? Then I'll simply check here if my database or DB ready is false. Then I'm going to show a warning message and throw the error that database not initialized. So this is what I'm going to do to be on the safe side, because sometimes it get executed before the initialization takes into place. So that is why this thing is done. Okay, so that we don't get unwanted errors. Fine. Once that is done, I think this functionality is ready. We don't need to do anything else. Let's move ahead to one more functionality we need to have. So I'm going to show you directly. This is called execute function. Now, what is this execute function? Execute SQLite DB connection statement. So basically, whatever tables you need to create, you will pass within this execute function only, which makes it work pretty nicely. So execute function is to execute or initialize the tables and everything. Then for running any query to fetch the data, you need to run the query function. And for running the addition, updation or deletion, you have to execute the run function. So that is how it becomes very easy for you to understand and execute it up. And nothing much is being done here also. In the execute, we are just using the execute functionality. It is not going to return anything, or is it? Yes, actually it is going to return something. So you can simply like have a constant of type of value result, which is going to hold the value is declared but is never being used. Of course, SQLite changes. So if you want to return, definitely you can return the result. All right, that's what you can do. And it is given of type void, but I don't want to fix to any type here. So I'm going to remove it up. If you want to pass any type, definitely you can. Void of type, promise of type any will be good. Or if you want the proper type, then you can pass SQL, cap SQLite changes. It's going to be fine. Anyway, so these functionalities are ready and our SQLite service is done. So I hope you have understood everything, how exactly we have prepared this function and what are the exact working of each and every functionality which we have passed. Let's move ahead and go to database service. In the database service, we are going to call our SQLite service. So let's prepare that by passing a private property. Let me call it SQLite, which will be equals to inject. So we can inject a service within another service directly. SQLite service, import it up. Once that is imported, we need to import the inject function also. After importing is done, we can work around with. Now here also I'm going to create another function which I'm going to name it as init only and make it a thing, because we are definitely going to use something for promise. And this function will not return anything, so you can just pass promise just to be on the safe side that it doesn't return anything which you don't want. Void. Fine. Now let's first execute everything within try catch, because I know that we are using promise, so we might enter certain errors for sure. So okay, fine. This error is okay. But if you want certain specific errors to be passed as a message, then definitely you can use it in this particular manner, like SQL database initialization failed, see console for details. That's what you can do. Okay, so the error is ready. Now it's time to execute the main part. So I've named the SQLite service as SQLite. You can change it to DB also if you want to, just to understand that you are more comfortable with DB name as it denotes database. So it's very easy to actually pronounce it. So await this dot db, this dot db dot init function. So basically we are calling the SQLite init function here directly, and definitely SQLize and definitely it means if it works properly and doesn't show any error, it means that it is working or initialized successfully. Now before that, I want to do one more. Well, actually I need to create the schemas or the tables. For that I'm going to create another function. I'm going to call it as create schema. Now this create schema function will be also a promise. Let me pass await here. Now it's time to create this function. So I'm going to create it as private function in this particular manner, which is going to return a promise of type void. Now why am I passing it as private? Because I'm going to use it within this particular class only, not anywhere else. That is why it's being passed as private. All right. Now within this create schema functionality, what am I going to do? Well, at first, let's create try catch block so that we can perform everything there in this manner. So if there is any error, definitely we're going to throw that database schema creation failed. All right. Now, if we don't have any error, then what we exactly going to do? Well, we need to obviously run db.execute function from our SQLite service. Okay. But I'm not going to execute it directly. In fact, I'm going to prepare the statement at first. So let me create a constant called statements, or to be precise, let me call it schema statements, which will hold an array of statements. So let me pass it here. So I need to pass this symbol. Let me just create that. Okay, in order to pass that symbol, I'm going to click on Alt plus Shift plus upper button. No, not exactly. What's wrong? All right, I got it. Alt plus upper button, or in Mac, Option plus the string literal button above tab. So you need to pass that up, and okay, now we need to create the schema. So we need to run the command create, normally like an SQL table, you're creating it up similar way. So create table, if not exist rooms, of course, that's what I need to pass. So suggestion is already coming up, so I've taken that. Create table if not exist rooms. Rooms is the first table that we are going to create. Within that I will have ID, which will be of type integer, and that will be our primary key. And in SQLite also we can pass auto increment so that the value will be incrementing itself. Then we will pass name, that is not null, and it is of type text. Now there is an additional quote, remove it. The error will go away, but this is not it. We need some other stuff too. What is that? Pass a comma and pass here. What do we need to pass? Well, let's check it out. In our interface that we have created, where is it? There we go. In interface, we have image and selected. Okay, fine. That's what we need. So let's get back to our database of service, and I'm going to pass image here. That's going to be of type text, and it will not be null, of course. It can be null if you don't pass anything, but we will make it mandatory. And then finally, we need selected, which is going to be an integer default value of 0, because it will be a tiny integer. You can keep it as that. It's going to take the value of 0 and 1 because we cannot pass it as a boolean value. Boolean value is also taken as a tiny int of 0 and 1. Okay, so this is how we are going to create the table for rooms. Now similarly, we need to create for another one, that is our devices. So let's go for it. I'm going to use the same code and create table if not exist devices. Okay, fine. It's giving me the suggestion, not a problem. ID definitely is going to be the same. Then we need the room ID. Perfect. We need the name. Yes, we do need that. So I'm just going to accept it. Then we need the icon and status. True. And last but not the least is the character UUID, that is for Bluetooth. If you're connecting with that, I'm just keeping the options open. And for foreign key, room ID is a foreign key which is referencing to the rooms, which is great. So it's doing all my part. Which is pretty nice. I'm using the Gemini extension integrated here. Let me just show you. That is why I'm getting all the suggestions. As of now, I have not used it a lot, but still sometimes it's pretty fine to work with it. Okay, so this is the Gemini chat. No, this is the one, Gemini Code Assist. This is the one which I'm using, and it is giving me the suggestion, which is quite good. Okay, so I've got all of this. Is this correct, or I have to make some changes? Well, actually I do. In this status, look at that in our interfaces. If I go to devices, this is of type boolean. So if it is boolean, we need to use either 0 and 1. So it will be of type integer. Let's pass it in that particular manner. So status will be of type integer and is given as not null, but integer will be actually having a default value, not null actually. So default to 0. That's what I need to pass. And this character UUID, it can be null actually. So I'll just pass it as text. and not mention that it cannot be null, of course. Okay, so far so good. We have created the two tables. I mean, we have created the schema part, right? Statements are created. It's time to go ahead and execute it up. So now we are going to execute each schema creation query in a sequential order. All right. So for doing that, what I will do? Well, let's go for a for loop const statement of schema statements. And within that, I'm going to run what? db.execute statement. So this is how we are going to go ahead and work with all of it. Now we need to close it up. This is the console log which I have passed and everything is great. Okay, what is this? We don't need that. Fine. So look at that, what exactly we have done here. I'm going to repeat again. We have created the statements of both the tables that we need to work with or the schema. Then we are running the schema one by one in a loop. So it will get executed and those will be created. If everything works fine, then definitely I'm going to show that the schemas are created, or I would say verified, because it will also exist or it will work when it already exists. Okay, if the table already exists, then it will show up that, okay, fine, everything is fine. It will go ahead. So this is what we are going to do. And if there is any error, we are going to show the error. So this is how we are going to create the schema and everything is ready in our database service too. Now, where do we need to call this database service? Let me just first work with that, and then at least the connectivity part is ready. That means our database for SQLite will be ready. So let me go to app.component.ts file. Now here, I'm going to use two things. First of all, database service injection and platform injection. Now, why we need platform injection, I'm going to explain you. Don't need to worry. But let me first import database service and platform from, copy it up at Ionic / Angular / standalone, because we are using the standalone approach here. Okay. Now, after doing that, in my constructor, what am I going to do? I'm going to use this dot platform dot, there is a ready function. So as soon as the application is ready and it starts running, this is the first file that will get executed. All right. I mean, main file will be called obviously from index.html, then it will check the root, then it will go to main.ts file, and from there on it's going to go to app.component.ts file. But this is the main file that will be executed, in which we need to pass our code. Okay, so this is how we are going to work with it, where I'm going to first log that the platform is ready, and we are going to call the database.init function. All right, so this is very, very important. So let's get rid of unwanted things. All right, now everything is sorted. So this is how I'm going to initialize my database for SQLite as soon as the app opens up, because we know what kind of tables we need in our database and it will be set up properly. So the basic setup is done. We are going to now work with whatever we need inside these tables to go ahead with. All right. So yeah, these are the main major steps which you need to follow for SQLite, and I hope you have understood this part properly. It's time to move ahead. Now, after setting up the database, what exactly we need to check? Well, like I said earlier, we're going to check it. We are going to check it in Android and iOS. So what am I going to do? I'm going to run it in Android and iOS. So let's first sync everything. Ionic cap sync. Now it is synced everywhere, whatever changes we have made so far. Now, instead of running it directly, let me run live reload. I think that would be better. So Ionic cap run iOS -l. L means live reload -- external. So it will run on any host, any IP. Let me just run this up and see if it runs properly or not. So it is asking me to select, but actually it's not going to work in this particular manner. Let me just tell you why. I first have to open up Xcode at first. So Ionic cap open. Let me go for iOS. If you are working in Android, go for Android and open it up. Don't need to worry about it. I like the iOS interface. That is why I'm going for iOS part. But it doesn't matter if you go for Android. So simply open the Android, hit the play button, and just open up the live reload and work with that. Same fashion. All right. The Xcode has opened up. Now I'm going to select a simulator. iPhone 17 Pro Max is my simulator. I'm going to click on play button. It's going to start building it up. As of now, I have not passed any permission or something. So let me first check here in the documentation. Do we need to pass any permission for it or not? So for Android, well, you need to do certain tasks. Okay. But for iOS, nothing is required. So if you're running it on Android, definitely you need to take care of some things. So let me just show you how exactly you are going to run in Android and iOS both, so that you don't face any trouble. Okay. Now, first of all, this particular functionality, I need to run this up. Full backup content and allow backup. This I have to pass it in Android manifest. Let me just go to my project, open up manifest. Now I'm using the shortcut command plus P, or you can use control plus P for Windows, and search and go directly to your file, whichever you want to. Okay. Now I'm going to paste here the two things which I have copied, because allow backup is already there and it is set to true. I'm going to keep the same, and I'm going to pass full backup content to false, and data extraction rules to be executing this particular file in XML. Now there is no duplication here, which is pretty fine. What next we need to do? In res folder, in the XML folder, we have to create a file called data extraction rules.xml. So let's go for it. And why this is needed, you can simply check it here. In case you get the following errors, okay, this is for the error part, but this things needs to be done. Okay, so let's do it. I have to go to which file? Let me just check res folder. Okay, I can't find it directly. I have to get here. This is the Android folder, and we have this res folder. Within the res folder, I have the XML folder where I have to create a file called data extraction rules.xml. Now within this file, I have to pass this particular stuff. So directly copy it and paste it here. That's what I need to do. I don't need to keep a stress on what it is, what it is about. Like, it's already written here. You can simply understand that it is for cloud backup and device transfer of data, whatever you have here. Oh, it's fine. I'll just keep it as it is and won't do anything else. What else do we need here? Let's check it one by one. If I just scroll down, nothing else is required. This is for Electron application. If you're building it in your desktop application, definitely you can work on it, but I don't want to execute it right now. And for iOS, no further steps is required. So it's fine. No more setup is needed. Great. So meanwhile, it is opened up in iOS. Now you can see here, the application is opened up. All right, it is up and running, but I'm going to run this now in live reload. And don't worry, I'm going to show you the other part also for Android too. Okay, so let me stop the web version for the time being. If needed, we'll run it later on. So Ionic cap, or we'll run the earlier command, Ionic cap run iOS -l -- external. So let me now run this, and I have to select my simulator this time. So let me just search for iPhone 17 Pro Max. That was the stuff that we need. So this is the one, I think. iPhone 17 Pro Max, probably, if I'm not wrong. Do we have anything else over it? I don't think so. So let me just select that up and see whether it works or not. So once you open the Xcode, it becomes very easier for you to execute all of it, and it will directly run it here. If you see any changes here, that means it is working. So let's try it out. I'll go to homepage HTML file, and what should I change here? Let's say hello Maria 1. We don't see any change here, right? What if I hit the play button again and see what happens if I hit the play button? It says replace application. Go and please replace it. All right, it was not working properly. So what I did is I closed the application and removed it from the simulator, means that deleted that, and rerun it up. Then it is working now nicely, and it's time to check it out. If we make any changes here, will it reflect? So I'll go to pages, home, and we change it to Maria 1. Let me change back to Maria, and it is getting changed. So it is working. Now let's try the same in our Android. You must be waiting for that, right? Okay, let's try it out. So same thing, Ionic cap run, this time not in iOS, it will be Android, and rest of the command will be same, -l -l external. For that also, I think I should open up Android Studio. So let me just try it. If it opens up automatically, it's good. Otherwise, I have to do it myself. It is going to show you the emulator. So I'm just getting the option to select the emulator. If I select it directly, will it open up? Let's check it out. So I've selected it, but I don't think it's going to open up automatically. So I will open up now Android Studio, or I could have done it from here itself. Let's do it from here itself directly. We know the command Ionic cap open Android, so that this particular project open up directly. That will be very good. So we are going to work with that now. It is setting up everything. So once the setup is ready, I'm going to run the application in the emulator, And once that is done, then we are going to actually run the live reload. So that is the standard protocol which you need to follow to run everything properly. Sometimes things doesn't work as you expect. So yeah, open it up and run it up. After that, if you close the Xcode or Android Studio, there is no problem in that. So everything is ready now. I'll run on this particular emulator. It is about to launch, and there we go. So it is launched and looking lovely, I must say. I'm happy with the design part. Now we need to work around with a lot of things. So I'm going to minimize it up. One more thing I can do here is I can get this emulator out of here, for which I have to go to dock view mode, dock unpinned window. Now it is taken out of the Android Studio. All right. So now I can use directly. Let's try it out. So I'm going to run the command once again. Ionic run android -l -hyphen external, and this time if I select it up, Pixel 9 Pro XL, let's check it out whether it works or not. So it is running, and if I make any change, will I be able to see that? Let's check it out. See, it's not reflecting here as of now, but it's reflecting in our simulator. Why? What if I hit the run button once, because we have made certain changes, right? Because I'm running live reload, so you have to, I think, run once, then I think everything will be fine. We'll come to know now. This is our emulator, which is open once again, and we do see the change. Great. So let me just put it here, and let's revert the changes and see if it's getting reflected or not. Well, it's not getting reflected here. Why? Oh, come on. Well, I'll uninstall and try it again. Okay, so I've uninstalled everything, and this time let's try one more time. I hope this time everything will work fine. And it was closed automatically. I think it encountered some errors probably. Okay. I didn't saw that. Anyways, let's try it again and see if it works fine. So this time, what do we get? It is up and running, which is good. What if I hit the run button this time? Launching on devices. Great. And let me just put it here just to be on the safe side. It's dock pinned back here, and I'll enlarge it so that you can check everything is working fine or not properly. Now let's try it once again to make some changes here. And will it get reflected? It's reflected here, and it's reflected here also. If I just turn something back again, it is reflecting here, which means live reload is working in both Android and iOS simulator and emulator. So you can now work around with any one of this. I'm going to close it up because I'm going to run as of now in only iOS mode. You can try it in Android, not a problem. Anyone will work. Okay, so far so good. Now, if you want to check the connectivity, whether it's run properly or not, in Android, what you can do, you can simply open your browser and go for Chrome Inspect DevTools in your Chrome web browser. So I'll just hit this particular URL, and if you have any application running in your Android, which is connected mostly in emulator or real device, also if you're connected it via USB, then it will show up here. Make sure USB debugging is in your real device, of course. So I think it would have been better if I would have shown you this part, but not a problem. Here you will get an inspect button. If you find anything here, simply click on the inspect button and you will see the entire screen. I have already shown this part in debugging most of the time. So you can simply check that up. For the time being, let me just close it or get back. Now, how to check it in iOS? Well, that also I have explained multiple times, but let's just do it here. Safari, and go to develop and simply run your application from here. Once you get to that, simply hit the reload button. Once you reload that up, see, you're getting everything here. So here we are getting the database init error. Basically, it is saying that the DB already exists. So if the DB already exists, we don't have to worry. We are just reloading it from here. That is why it might be showing up, but there is no such errors. We can still go ahead and work with it. And you're going to see all of it in some time as we proceed further. For the timing, everything is fine. The connectivity is done, and we have tested in Android and iOS. It is showing up. All right. So everything is working so far. So after doing the connectivity, we are going to start working with the other services, basically to prepare the CRUD operations for room and devices. I'm going to start with the room service here. I'm going to prepare all the CRUD operations, and then we will work with the UI and start implementing all of it. But this is very, very important. Now to start off, I'm going to create a private writable signal property. Let me call it room state. You can name it whatever you want. That will be of value signal. This will be a writable signal. If you want, you can definitely pass here like this. writable signal and give it a type. What type you want? Room array. Now this room is the interface, simply import it and you're good to go. Now for the signal also it will be room array and initial value will be an empty array. See, no errors, we're good to go. After that, I'm going to create another property which will be read only. Yes, it's giving me the suggestion. That's what I'm going to create called rooms that is going to read the value of it. So it will also be a writable signal function only. If you just hover on it, see, it is a signal function and it is mainly used just to read the value. You cannot write it here. That is why it is as read only. This is very, very important because you don't want to write the service from anywhere in the application. If you want, definitely you can. You just remove this private from here and you can use it directly. But this is a best practice. Keep it read only. And if you want to make any changes, have the functionality in this particular class itself. Next thing, inject SQLite service. So I'll pass DB as its name and pass inject SQLite service. Everything imported. Great. Now import that too and it's done. Okay, so far so good. Well, if you're wondering that I'm getting the suggestions via Gemini Code Assist and you don't have that, simply you can do what you can implement Copilot plugin. It's already available there for free. You can execute that up and that will also help you in showing the results. So yeah, you can, if you want, definitely you can use that wipe coding part. But I would suggest to write yourself because you are learning right now. If you know how things are being done, definitely you can go ahead with wipe coding to try a lot. But I'm not such a big fan of it. Since it is coming up, then it's fine. If I don't like something, I'm just directly ignoring it, not blindly just copying everything, whatever it's being shown. Coming to the next thing, which will be load rooms, a function that I'm going to create to call my data. Now, even if I want, I can pass a type of it because it is going to return promise of type void, as I'm not going to actually return any value from here. If you want, definitely you can. And we are going to see what exactly we are going to do here. So let's pass everything within try catch because we are throwing errors from everywhere. So we need to catch it properly. Otherwise, we will land into some trouble. So here also, I'll pass the error. Let me just remove it. I think everything is visible to you. If not, then I'm going to enlarge it a bit for you and just get rid of it. I've hidden it up using Command plus J, or I think you can try Control plus J for Windows. It will still work. Okay, now let me make it asynchronous because we'll be using await for sure. Now what next I'm going to do? Well, let me first create the query. So query or statement. So const, let me call it query equals to the syntax within which select what? We need to select the rooms, right? But it also has another property or key which is called as, let me just show you. Yeah, I have to go to the interface part to explain you that, which is device count. Now, how do I know what is the device count? What is actually device? Device is nothing but the devices that are connected to this particular room. I want to keep a count of it and show it here itself, right? So if it is showing 7 devices, if you get inside it, you must see 7 devices here. So how many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, which is wrong, right? If you have 8 devices and it is showing 7 devices, it's not correct. So this is a mock data. We can still neglect that part. But if it is the actual data, definitely you need a proper count. That is why we are going to make that count from our devices table. All right. We'll count the number of devices against a particular room. And that's how we are going to build up our query. I hope you have understood it properly. Now it's time to implement. You will then grab everything, whatever I told you right now. So select, let me at first give star from, let's say rooms. Let me denote it by R and I'm going to perform left join because I want to show all the rooms. If you have any device count, then it's fine. If you don't have any devices available or the count is not available, then also it's fine. So left join with what? I'm going to join it with devices. So left join with devices, whom I'm going to denote it by D. On which condition? On condition that r.id, the room ID, equals to D. D means devices dot room ID. So the foreign key and the primary key matches everywhere. Then only we are going to show that up. And let's group by, let's say r.id. So room ID, I'm going to group by room. That's why group by room ID. So once that is done, we will fetch the records, whatever we need. Instead of star, which means all the data, what I need here, let me go for r.id. That's what I need. I need r.name. That means room name, room ID. And then I need the count. So count function I'm going to call, where I'll pass d.id. It is going to count the number of devices within the devices table belonging to this particular room. And I'm going to name it as what name? Device count. That's what we have in our interface, right? Last but not the least is the image. So let me just pass it here. So r.image. Now it's done. If you want to break the query to understand it properly, let's do it in this particular manner. So this is broken, left join, on, and then group by. Now it will be totally clear to you whatever we have done. Now after the query is ready, what next I'm going to do? Well, I need to execute it up, of course. For that, let me create a constant and let me call it rooms equals to await this dot db dot. I'm going to call the function query because we are fetching the data, right? So once we are fetching, we need to pass it in this particular manner, and I'm going to pass the query. Once that is done, what we need to do? Well, we need to simply update our room state. So how am I going to do that? This dot room state dot set. Now I'm not going to directly set the value. Why? I'm going to explain you now. So I'm going to do what? I'm going to run rooms.map function. Now, if you remember, we have another property called selected, right? And selected is saved as an integer, which will give us a value as 0 or 1. By default, it is 0. Since we haven't changed anything, so it will be 0, right? We need to convert it into a proper Boolean value, true and false. How we can do that up? Well, we will execute that up in this particular functionality by using map function, where we are going to twist our data. Let me show you how I can do that. So in the map function, I'm going to pass room, and then I'll pass this bracket so that if I pass braces here, it won't detect it as braces. All right. It will be directly returning this particular value, whatever I do it, because it's a one-liner code. So within the braces, I'm going to pass the room data. Okay. This room data, comma, the selected which I have here, I'm going to pass what? I need to convert it into a Boolean, for which I'll use two not symbol or two exclamation symbol and pass the value. So it's going to convert it into a Boolean value if I do so. All right. So that's how it can be done. And I don't need an semicolon here because this is within the set function. All right. Now you just check it out. Everything is good to go. So once this is set, you will get true and false value out of selected. All right. Okay. So this is done. What else do you need to do within this functionality? Well, nothing actually. But if you want, you can simply log the value and in fact return if you want to. Returning can be good if you are not passing here any void or something, because if you want to fetch the data or any value there in your front end, I mean to say in your main UI pages, then definitely you can pass here some value. But since I don't want to do that, that is why I passed void, and I'm okay with that. Mostly in try catch, we definitely need to return something. It's a good practice, but I'm okay with it. Now, can you tell me how I can fetch a room data by its ID? Now, if you can recall, we already have set our room state, and whenever we open the application, definitely we are going to get the rooms data. So if we have it ready, that means whatever changes happens into the room state, now this room signal function will already be updated by itself. All right. So we can fetch the data directly from here using computed signal. Yes, we can use computed signal, but I don't need to pass it here. I can use it within a functionality itself. Let me just show you that part. So I'm going to write a function called getRoomById, which will accept the ID as type integer, and it is going to return the computed signal. So let me just import it. So this dot rooms function, like I said, it's a writable signal function. So not writable, it's a signal function which we can only read. So within this function, we are just simply going to run a find function basically, and check if the ID matches with anything. I'm going to return that value and get out of it. So this is how I'm simply going to use the computed signal function, which is read only by default, and return the value whichever matches with the value here. Okay, simple, quite simple. This is what we can do. There are other options also, but this is quite good. Moving ahead, I'm going to work with add room functionality, in which what am I going to do? I'm going to accept some parameters like room which will omit the ID and selected, because selected will have a default value whenever we are adding a room, and ID obviously it will be generated after it is created, and it is going to return a promise of type room. That's what we are going to get. Now let me make it of type async, and I'm getting an error here because we need to use try catch, or we need to return a promise. Otherwise, actually it's not returning anything. Okay. Now let's fix everything one by one. Spelling, come on. All right, this error will be fine. I'm okay with it. But before that, there is one more thing which I want to do here is I want to check a condition. If the error message says there is any unique constraint or something, which means that the name already exists, because I don't want the name to be repeated again and again, as we have kept it as unique. Let me just show you. Let me just go to database service, and if I just check here the schema part, okay, I have not passed it as unique, which I should do. I should pass here unique and should change the DB name so that I can execute it again in a fresh DB. Let me call it, I think that would be better. Okay. All right. So now this is set up. All right. So it will make sure that your name should be unique. If it is not unique, definitely we are going to get an error. It will say that room already exists and throw an error. Simple. Now why it is giving me an error here? Because it is of type any by default and we have to mention it. Otherwise, it's going to give you the error. Now problem solved, and the catch part is ready. It's time to prepare the try block. So what to do in the try block? Let me create a constant, and I'm going to call it as result, which will be equals to this dot db dot run. And we need to insert the rooms, of course. Name, image, definitely yes. That's what I need to insert. Let me keep it in this particular manner for the time being. So basically, I'm going to insert room and room name and image. Rest of the things will be taken automatically, like the selected device count. We are going to take it directly from the devices part, and ID will be auto-generated, and then we are going to fetch it afterwards. And this is how I'm going to pass the values here, whatever we fetch from this particular room form. Okay. Don't worry, we are going to prepare the form and everything. First of all, let's prepare the services, which is very, very important to work with. So this is the insert query, simple and quite easy to understand. Wherever you need to pass value, just pass question mark and we are good to go. And after doing that, simply log the value so that you can understand what value is coming up out of it. Now is the interesting part, because I need to prepare the new room data. So const, let me call it new room, which will be of type, of course, room, that will be equals to an object which is going to hold, of course, the ID at first. Now, how to get the ID? Well, you have to patch result dot, or I would say question mark dot. Okay, actually, I made a mistake. It should be await here, which I forgot to pass, because it is going to return a type of promise, of course, and we need to fetch that. So, result changes question mark dot. See, we have all these options. I'm going to pass the last ID inserted. If there is nothing, then you can pass date time or directly possibly 1 to be on the safe side. Okay, if you're working in web, definitely you need to check that out. And then room name, fine, selected, false. That's okay for me. And device count 0 is fine. But if you already have some device count, definitely that should be passed. So room question mark dot device count. If it is available, then it will pass. Otherwise, okay. Otherwise, I will pass 0. But if your form do not have anything called device count, you can still pass it 0. So if you're adding, I will pass it 0. Just not to complicate things. All right. So that's what I will do. And after doing that, I simply need to update my room state and then return the value of this particular room, because that's what we have done, promise of type room. So we need to return a type of room. So what am I going to do? I'm going to update my room state in this particular manner using the update function that we can do directly. And this is my array which I'm going to simply return. So I've optimized the array. How? I've taken the earlier values, whatever we had in the array, and then appended the new room data along with it. This is the object which is appended here within the array. And that's how I've updated this room state, and then finally returning the value. That's it. So once that is done, everything is good to go. This functionality is ready, right? Now it's time to work with the next function, which is little similar, which is going to be update room. So in the update room, this is my functionality, and I'm going to explain you because it's going to be similar. That is why I'm not going to explain you line by line, but it's very simple to understand. See, we will be sending the room data, whatever we will be having in the form in terms of update, and possibly here also we are going to take image and name. All right. Now I'm going to run update query here. So if you have name, that value will be passed. If you pass any image, that value will be passed here. And that's how I'm going to pass the value uh, where ID equals to. Then wherever you're passing question mark, that means we have to pass the values here in the same order. All right. Remember that this question mark, first question mark is for the name. So you have to pass name. Second question mark is for the image. You are passing the image. Third question mark is for the ID and you are passing the ID. So remember, don't make any mistake in this. And here, if you just recall this particular part, I'm omitting the device count from the interface. Why? Because we are not passing the device count in our form. We have not prepared the form, I'm saying again, but whenever we prepare, we'll make sure that we don't pass device count. Only name and image will be there. And ID, obviously, we are going to pass that in within this data. Okay. That is what I'm going to do. So this is ready. After that, I'm simply updating the room state. All right. How am I updating it up? So I'm going to check the ID. If the ID matches, then simply update name and image there. Otherwise, return the same data. Okay. So that is what is being done with the help of mapping functionality, which I have explained earlier also. And then simply passing a log, as it will return a type void, so I don't have to worry about returning anything. But if you still want to return something, definitely you can return the value. You can just pass the complete room data once again in a different object and like pass it here in return. Okay. Rest is the same stuff. Well, I'm checking if there is any name unique error which I might get. So if in that case, I'll say the room name already exists and you have to pass a different room name. That's what I'm going to do. So it's as simple as that, which we have already implemented in add. So add and update is not different apart from the query part. The next part is the delete room. So I'm quite sure you can do it yourself, the delete part, because you just have to run the query, and those who are familiar with SQL definitely can run these queries. But still, I'm going to show you. So delete room will accept an ID, which will return a promise of type void, and everything will be done again in try catch block. In catch, we are going to check the error if there is any. And whenever you're deleting, you have to run the delete query. See, I'm executing db.run everywhere, wherever I'm executing delete, update, and add. And for fetching the data, what am I calling? I'm calling the query function. Let me just show you. This is the query function. So this is how we are working with it, which I explained you at the very beginning. Now here, you are running the run function to execute this particular query for deletion, delete from rooms table where ID matches with this particular value, whatever you are passing. Okay. Then you simply need to update your room state data. Okay. So similar manner, just filter the data whose ID matches with the one that is deleted and remove data. So the remaining data will still be remained. That is why I'm just checking. If ID does not match with this, keep that data, otherwise remove that data. Simple. So filtration will be done, then simply log, and I'm not returning anything apart from a promise of type void. So it's pretty fine if I'm not returning anything here, and just throwing the error if there is any error. So this is the CRUD operations which we have done. Now we can implement few more things. Like in room, whenever you are fetching the room data and whenever you add some new devices, okay, you want to like update the device count here, definitely you can work on that. You can work on a particular function which will update the selection of a particular room. So if you click on something, it can update the room that it is selected. Well, that is optional, but still if you want to execute those functionalities, definitely you can. And it's exciting because you will be updating a different part or a single field of the table. So how you can do that up, let me just show you all those functionalities, because you might be needing that to understand these things a bit more. So now I'm going to show you three functions which are in ready with me. Let me just show you and explain a little bit about it, which is starting with the update room selection. Simply I'm getting the ID of the room and the selected value, whatever it is at present. Then simply hitting the run functionality from the database for a particular room, which we have already set up in SQLite service. So we need to perform the updation in the rooms table. So setting selected value to whatever value we get out of it. We are getting the value as true and false. Remember that. So once we get the value out of it, so we will check wherever the ID is, whatever the value you pass, we are going to update the selected. And how do we need to pass the value? First question mark is for the selected. So we need to check if selected is true, then I'm going to set the value as 1, otherwise 0. This is very, very important because it is going to accept Boolean value. And then next is the ID. So this is how I prepared the array and it's done. Once that is done, you simply need to update your room state once again. That's the most important part because it will be synchronized throughout the application wherever you're using the rooms data from this particular service. All right. So this is updated, which means the rooms data is also updated within this particular read-only signal function. Okay. That is what we are going to do when we fetch data out of it. So after you do that up, after the updation is done, where we are setting, if the ID matches, then I'm going to pass selected, otherwise I'm going to just pass false. So what is being done here within the mapping part? See, I'll have all the data, and for this selected, I'm going to simply check if r.id, if any room ID matches with this particular ID that we have passed. All right. If anything matches, then we are going to pass the selected value, otherwise false. Why false? Because only one can be selected at a time. That is why it's false. Okay. But there is one drawback of it. Let's say if this is false, then what will happen? If it is false, then nothing will be selected, right? In that case, you can keep the earlier values also. All right. You can check here if selected is true, then you are passing it as false. Otherwise, the normal value that was present earlier. That's what you can do. Okay. But I think this is also fine. Select, unselect, which is okay. So I'll keep it as it is, and you console the value, whatever you want to, and you're good to go. Catch any error, which is very, very important. So these things are already been done. The main part is like how you are running the query. Okay. Rest is same everywhere. Even if you check it here also, it's the same part. But here in the device count, we are not doing anything with the database because the main part in the database will come in the device table that we are going to work in some time. So this rooms state will be updated, and we are going to update the rooms count for that particular record where it matches the room ID which we pass here. Okay. Simple as that. And same goes in decrement also. Here we are adding if the ID matches, and here we will be subtracting if the ID matches. That's the only thing you need to do. Rest is same. Okay. But when you're subtracting, you need to take care of one more thing, that if it is greater than 0, then you are just passing it up. Otherwise, simply pass the room data. That means by default it is 0. You don't want to go in negative. So all the functionalities are ready for the room. Do we need to execute rooms now? No. I'm going to now execute the device service at first. I'm going to perform all the CRUD operations and get it ready. Once everything is ready, we will directly go to the UI part and start working with it. That's going to be easy for you because the main hurdle, we will be overcoming that. As you have understood the CRUD operations which we perform here, you will very easily understand the CRUD operations which we are going to perform in the device service. So let's finish that up first. So it's time to work with the device service and get the CRUD operations for the devices too. Let's get started with it. And it's going to be similar to the one which we have implemented for room service. So like the way we did it in room service, we are going to create a private writable signal function called devices state actually. And then we have to make it read only so that we can call it whenever we want in other classes. That is why this is private and this is public. If you don't pass public also, still it's fine. By default, everything is public. Now here, I will inject the SQLite service and also the room service. You are going to understand why I need that. So let's do it one by one at first. Now import everything here. So one by one, I'm going to import everything. There we go. So once the importing is done, it's time to work with it. Now the first function which I'm going to create is the load devices for a specific room. How I can do that? Load devices by room, where I'm going to pass the room ID of type number, make it a sync, and pass everything within the try-catch block. So I've just passed the console log and throw the error if there is any. Now after the catch part is sorted, we just need to work with the try block where I'm going to simply run. Let's create a constant called devices like the way we did for our rooms, which will be equals to await this dot db dot query. So query function I'm going to call. So within this query function, we need to pass what? the statement and the values. So the query statement will have select star from devices where room ID equals to question mark. Great, that's what I need. So I'm going to accept it, and then I will pass the room ID for sure, obviously. So this is fine. And then we have to set the value here. So set the value within that directly the devices. Is it? Yes, we do. But actually, there is another thing which we have called state. If you don't remember, we have inside every room a status. So the status is having a value of true and false, and that's what we need to keep it. So to keep that value, we are going to do similar thing that we did for selected in rooms data, right? That means I need to just remove it and work with the mapping function. Of course, the suggestion is coming up, so I'm going to accept it. Okay, no, the devices are not of type any, it will be of type device, so for sure. And I'm going to prepare the latest object. So each device will be there, but along with that, the status will be passed as what? As a Boolean value, for which again, we are going to use 2 exclamation symbol, and device dot status will be passed, simple. Or there will be no semicolon. So let me remove it. What's wrong here? There will be another bracket here. Now everything is sorted. Great. All right. If you want to break it down, definitely you can. Okay. What happened here? I was just giving DB. Why it took something different? Anyways, now it's fine. Okay. So everything is sorted. No more errors. So what? No, I do have certain errors which is coming up because the function bracket was missing. Now everything is fine. Okay, so function is created properly and it is good to go. So this is what we did for our load devices by room. Then what else do we need? We need to fetch a single device. No, we don't need to fetch a single device, do we? Yes, we need that when we edit it up. But actually we can pass it directly because we will be having the array here. So that's not needed. If you want, definitely you can use the computed part here also. But I'm directly going to jump to add device. So for add device, I'll be creating a function called add device, in which again I'm going to omit ID and status here, which are there by default or not present only, like we did in room service. And it will return a type of promise which can accept either device or null too. There is a possibility that there is nothing getting added, right? That is why. Now within this function, everything will be in try catch block, and errors are being passed within the try block. What am I going to do? Well, no, I'm not going to run that. Actually, I'm going to run a constant. Let me call it result equals to await this dot db dot. This time run function will be there because we are performing the add operation. Now within this run function, we need to pass the statement, the query that we need to execute, and then the values there. So I'm going to simply pass this particular query, insert into devices. What we need to insert? We need to insert the name, icon they can select obviously, and we are going to prepare that in our form. Then you will understand what I'm talking about, but mostly I'm going to pass the icon. It can be optional also. Then the room ID and the character UUID if you are using any Bluetooth device. Okay, so this values, it can be null also. I think I have kept it in that particular manner only. Hopefully in the interface, which one? Device. Yeah, it is given of type string and it is optional, which is fine. In database also, I think I am not passing it as not null. It can be null for sure, and that is why it's pretty fine to work with it in this particular manner. So this is fine. I pass the values, whatever we are going to get out of it, and this is how our result will be ready. We are going to fetch data out of it. After we do that, what we need to do? Well, we'll get the ID and everything, and we are going to update our device's state. But to update the device's state, I have to prepare an object of type device where I will be getting the actual data or preparing the actual data which I need to return. So this is how I'm going to prepare the new device, which will be of type device. I'm going to fetch the ID out of it, and you have already seen how to fetch the ID. If there is nothing, I can pass date.now, but actually it is of type ID, so date.now will also be resulting in a number. Okay, even you can pass the same just to make it what do I say, unique. I'm doing that up, so it will be, I can copy and pass it there also, but actually it will be auto incremented, right, every time. So you will be getting some value every time. Don't need to worry about it. If it works pretty fine, if you get some result, definitely you will be able to see everything working here. All right, so you can skip it. You can pass 1 also if you want to. I think it would be better if you pass 1, and this is not nullify, so I can simply skip that up in this particular manner. Okay, so this is done, and by default I'm setting the status to be false and passing all the values that we will be getting out of the form. All right, so this is done. Now we can simply update our device's state. So this is the device's state which I have updated pretty simply. Now after this is updated, is a game over? Well, no. You need to remember a few things. First of all, what we are actually returning, we are returning the device. So I'm going to return new device here. That's the first thing. But before that also, I need to implement something. That's where I call the room service. Because whenever we update a device, we need to increment what? Increment the device count in room service. So I'm going to call this dot room service dot increment device count. That's what I'm going to call, and I need to pass the room ID. So how am I going to get the room ID? Well, we already have it. This is how I'm going to get it. Now simply pass it here. Simple. It's done. So now this function is completely ready. You have seen what things are very, very important to work with, right? So in this manner, we have completed the add device functionality. Now we will perform the updation. Also, you can keep one more track. Well, if you get some errors, definitely it's going to set, it is going to be caught here. So we don't have to worry about it. That is why I'm not like checking if result is null or something. It's pretty fine for me. Now the next functionality is for the update. So update will be almost similar. Look at that, which I have already prepared. So look at this. I'm just performing the query for updation. You can update name, icon, room ID. Room ID will not be updated, so I can simply remove it because the device belongs to a particular room. And I won't give you an option to actually update the room, so I can simply skip that part. If you want, you can keep it, but I don't think I'm going to give you in the form. So if you want to prepare your own form in that particular manner, definitely you can. You can do anything you want. So this is how I'm going to run the query to update name, icon, and character UID, UUID if you're working with the Bluetooth device. So that is completely optional if you want to. And you can simply pass the values where ID matches with the one that you're passing here. Simple. Then simply update your device's state by mapping it up, because if you don't map with the ID and don't pass the actual data, definitely there will be trouble. So that is how we will perform the actual object updation. All right, and this room ID will be simple. Whatever we are passing it here, whatever we are getting it from here, I'm just simply passing that up. That's it. So after doing that, even I can skip it also because I don't want to update it. It's going to be the same here, right? So I just commented it up. If you want, definitely you can work on that too. So this is the only thing, and if the ID doesn't match, I am going to return simply the device data, whatever it was there earlier on. Okay. So in this manner, after mapping, everything will be set up and we will get the proper array once again with the updated data. And if there is any error, I'm going to just log the error, and actually after logging, I'm going to throw the error too, so that we can work on that in the pages wherever we are going to call this particular service. All right. So this is done. It's quite simple to understand. That is why I'm not explaining line by line. I'm just passing it up and just giving you an overview of the things which is being done, because it's very, very similar. Executing same thing again and again won't help you to understand it quickly, and it will take a lot of time. Okay, so that is why I'm just skipping few things, but making sure that you understand each and everything properly. So as there is the duplicacy thing which we are doing right now, little bit, not much, because some things are tricky. Now after this is done, what we did earlier, you remember, we updated the selected in room service, right? Here also we'll perform the same. We will update the status this time. So for updating the status, I'm going to pass a functionality. Look at this, update device status, where we will pass the ID and status of type Boolean. So whatever whenever you toggle, it is going to update here. All right, that is what we are going to do. And for updation, again, we are going to use the run query. So run functionality will be used, update devices table, set status to whatever value you are passing, where ID equals to whatever ID value you are passing. So the first value will be the status. If status is true, we have to pass it in integer. You remember, in database, SQLite database, we are going to pass it as in proper integer. So if it is true, we are going to pass as 1. If it is false, we are going to pass it as 0. Here we are using the ternary operator, and then passing simply the ID in the second position of the array, because it depends on the question mark. The one that comes first, we are going to pass that at the very beginning. as I have already explained this part. Then simply update your device's state. Simple. Checking the ID. We're using the mapping function and then done. Simple. If there is any error, we will just throw the error and also log at the same time so that we can track it down what is the actual error that is coming out. So far, we have done a lot of things. One thing is left, which is the deletion of a device. Now, how you delete a device? You have to simply run the query. You already know about it, right? So we are going to perform that. But there is one thing which you might miss out. That is what I'm going to explain you now. Now look here. I've created a delete device functionality in which I'm just passing the ID and having here a try catch block where we'll throw the error if there is any. And I'm checking here if there is a device that is available from the device state. All right. Means if any ID matches with that, I'm going to fetch the device data. Why? Because if there is no such device available from this data, I'm going to simply return. I'm not going to do anything. But if there is a data available within our device's state, then I need to update in SQLite. Along with that, I'm going to update the device's state too by removing that up. How will I do that? Simple. I'm going to run the query in this manner. So this query will be run, delete from devices where ID matches with this particular value, and then device's state will be updated by using the filter function. Simple. Up till here, definitely you can do that. But there is one more thing which we need to implement. I'm going to tell you now. So I'm going to implement this dot room service. Now you will understand why am I doing this. Room service dot decrement device count. Why? Because whenever we delete a device, we have to decrement the number from our room device count, right? That is why this is being used. Okay. So this is very, very important. You might have missed out, definitely. If not, then it's great. If you might have missed out, then this is the solution which you need to implement. Otherwise, your functionality will be partially correct, partially wrong. So by doing this, we have successfully created the CRUD operations for room service earlier, and now the device services with all the functionalities that is needed in extra. Now it's time to implement the main part, that is the UI part, and then integrating everything. We have prepared almost all the services, but few are still left, which is related to camera plugin. We have created a service for that, and there is another global service which we are going to use. So let's first implement all of it, then jump to the form section. That will be very, very easier for us to integrate everything, right? So I'm going to start off now with the camera service. In the camera service, we need to install a plugin here, for which I'm going to install it up using the command npm i @capacitor/camera. So let me hit the run button. And if you want to check the documentation, then you can simply do what? Go to the browser and look for capacitor documentation, capacitorjs.com/docs/API. You can just get there directly. And here you can simply see camera plugin, in which we need to install in this particular manner, which I have already done. And for syncing, just simply copy this up, or you can use Ionic App Sync. Both are the same. Now we need to pass some permissions. We'll work on that. So these are the permissions which we need to pass in my info.plist file for iOS. So let's get to our application, and here info.plist file, simply open it up. Now after this, you can simply pass it here or at the bottom, wherever you want to. So what permissions do we need? You have already seen a few. Let me just show you directly. NS camera users description, then pass a string. Please allow access to your camera. This will be shown to the user whenever they are requested for the camera plugin. And for the photo library also, if they are asked for it, then this message will be prompted on them. This message will be prompted on their device, and so on. So these three permissions are being passed as explained in the documentation. All right. So message is your own. You can pass any message here you want in this string. Okay. After doing that, we have to go to Android Studio, and not Android Studio, we can directly go to the Android folder and work with that. So here we have to pass something in our Android manifest.xml file. So let me simply copy it up, and we have to pass it to the application tag. All right. So within the application tag, we need to pass it up. I'll simply search here manifest, and we got the first file. So let me just scroll down, and within the application at the very bottom, I'm going to simply paste it and align it properly. All right. So once that is done, what next? Let's check it out. If that entry is not added, a device that don't support the file picker component falls back. All right. We don't want that. We want to use it. So after that, we will pass the permissions. copy and pass it within the Android manifest only at the bottom. So here I'm going to pass these two permissions. So once the permissions are being passed, do we need to do anything else? Let's check it out. This is for version. We don't need to pass it. It's the same stuff only. In variables.gradle file, we need to pass this up. So copy and go to variables.gradle file. Simply search once again variables.gradle from Android folder. Look at the minimum SDK version we have proper that was asked in SQLite if you remember. Now I'll just scroll down and pass it here, the version. So what version do we need to pass? It is already written here, 1.3.7. So whatever version is shown here in your case, simply pass that up and you will be good to go. Oh, this is done. What's next? Well, next is Android X material version. So I passed it and the value will be 1.12.0. So simply pass this value and the configuration is done. I don't think anything else is required for PW elements. Yes, if you want to use it in web, just for testing purpose, if you want to use it in web, definitely you can use the camera plugin directly with the help of PW elements. We can implement the PW elements for SQLite also, but again, there are some issues which are occurring. That is why it's not working properly, but I'm going to show you all the steps. So I've copied this particular part and I'm going to install it. So once that is installed, what exactly we need to do? We need to go to our main.ts file and there I have to pass this up. So let me just copy it, get back to my main.ts file at the bottom. This is the file. Now here, before this bootstrap application, let me just pass it up and I'm going to rename it as PWA elements. Okay, then I will rename this particular part also as PW element. This is not mandatory, but if you want to use anything else, like I will be using for Jeep SQLite, if just to show you how exactly the configuration needs to be done for web also for SQLite, but it's not going to work properly. But still I'll show you the configuration and everything. So there also you will find define custom elements, and that is why I don't want it to get conflict anywhere. So you can change the name in this particular manner. So after this is done, we don't need to do anything else. All the setup is ready. Even you can pass this particular part also. It's fine. That is for production. All right. Import it from environment. Good. This one also import it. All right. So far so good. I think we have passed almost whatever is required. So this one without even PW elements also we can definitely pass it up. Not a problem. Now according to the configuration part, everything is sorted and now it's time to implement in this service. So let's go to our camera service and work on it. That's the camera service in which I have already shown you many times how exactly to work with the camera plugin. But still, I'm going to show you directly how exactly I'm going to perform the operations or perform the functionality so that we can use it dynamically wherever we want. So here I'm going to create a function called getPhoto and we don't need to pass anything called public. I made it asynchronous because we are going to return a promise. Now I'm taking the parameter as a source. Now source can be different. You can take it from camera, you can take it from photos directly. You have the privilege to select. When we are going to work on that and then you will understand in the when we'll work with the form part. But for the time being, just understand that I'm allowing the user to choose which one they want. All right, from directly the function itself. So whatever they choose, that will come up and by default, I'm setting it as camera. Okay, that is what I'm doing and it is going to return a promise of type either photo or null. And what is this photo? Well, it is a part of the camera plugin only. Okay, so now this function, we will at first try to create everything within the try catch block so that we can handle the errors properly. Now in the catch functionality, I'm just going to show the error and return null, so that we can just get some value there that something is not happening. You can throw an error also if you want to, but I want to return null for the time being. And in our try block, I'm going to execute the main functionality, which is to call the getPhoto function. Now in the getPhoto function, camera plugin from @capacitor/camera, I'm going to get the result type. So result type will be fetched as URI, okay, so that I can get the file path. It is going to give me web path and path normally, okay. And then I'm going to pass the source. So source will be nothing but the one that we are passing it here. By default, it will be the camera source. Then we can pass a quality. I'm passing it as 90% quality because we can get a higher quality photo. That's pretty good. And then finally returning this particular captured photo, whatever we are going to get out of it. So just the basic functionality is being prepared, with the help of which we can call either the camera or photos properly in high quality and we'll get the file path. Alright, so you have understood it properly, I think. So I'm quite sure you have understood this particular service properly. Let's move to the global service now. Now in the global service, what exactly I'm going to do? Mainly we are going to control the ion loading, ion toast, and some more stuff like ion alert or anything else, whatever you want to do, we are going to control it from one service itself. To start off, I'm going to start working with ion toast. We are going to mainly work with the inline toast here. So inline toast will be passed in app.component.html file. I'm going to show you that part. But first of all, what are the properties which we are going to keep dynamic? I'm going to pass it in the global service. Let me show you how. So I'm going to pass few properties here, which will be writable signal function. So again, you can make it private, but I want to keep it dynamic so that we can use it from wherever we want. So one is for opening the toast, which is set to false by default. And the other one is the property which will help us to pass the message, color, duration, position, whatever you want to change, you can do it here from here directly. So this is what is very, very important. And with the help of this, you can make it dynamic. But these are just the properties. How you can make it dynamic? Well, I'm going to create a function for it, which I'm going to name it as present toast, where I'm going to take the parameters as message, keep the color as dynamic, but what type of values it can take success, danger, warning, dark colors. So all these colors can be passed. It can take the primary color also, whatever colors you want to pass, definitely it can take that colors, but mostly you pass this kind of colors only. That is why I've just passed these 4 colors. Then you can pass a duration which is set to 3000 by default, which means 3 seconds. And position, these are the positions which you can have, and by default I've set it to bottom. Okay, then I'm just calling the toast state and just setting the value of whatever you're passing it here. That value will be set and the toast message will be opened up. That is the thing which is being done. Pretty simple, right? So once this is ready, how to execute it up? I have to go to app.component.html file, and don't worry if this file name changes in your project as app.html later on. It is quite possible because in Angular latest version of 20, it is already changed. And as we go further, definitely they're going to change it up. Okay, let's go here, and what am I going to do? I'm going to directly call the ion toast here. Let me show you how. This is how I'm going to go do that. So ion toast, hover on it, it will get imported automatically. I'm calling the is open only if we have global service is toast open set to true. Okay, so these all are set, like message is being set from toast state. So I'm directly calling this up, but you might be confused. Why am I directly passing it? Because it's giving me an error. So basically I have to inject here private global equals to inject the global service, and we need to import it up. All right, it is imported. Great. So everything is ready for us to go with. And now you will find an error. Why? Because if we want to execute this particular service directly in our HTML, we have to remove this private tag. Okay, I have to make it public in this manner. Then you won't find the errors. Just check this out. There are no errors as such for global service, but there is an error for on toast dismiss function because we haven't created any function as such. Let's create that up. I will go to the toast. I'll go to the global service to do that up. And I hope you are clear about all these things because it's simply passing the color, did dismiss, whatever the events and the properties that are available in Ion Toast. I'm just using that up, and I've explained multiple times about it. You can check my proper course of Ionic to understand all these things, the beginner section mostly. All right, let's go ahead to the global service part, and here I need to create another function. So let me just scroll down and pass this function on toast dismiss, where I'm setting is toast open to false. That's it. The next thing I'm going to work with is ion alert. So for the ion alert also, I'm just going to pass similar fashion. Is alert open, same way, and alert state is being passed. So alert options now imported, but imported from a different package. It has to be imported from at ionic/angular/ it should be standalone. Don't make a mistake. If you pass up till here, it won't work properly in a standalone project. You have to pass standalone if you're working in a standalone project. So let's work on the functionality for alert opening and alert closing. So I'll just scroll down, and after this I'm going to pass in the similar fashion, which is going to be show alert function, in which I'm going to take the parameter as message, the buttons array will be there, and the header part. By default, I'm passing as alert, and you can change whatever you want to. And then in this function, I'm going to open the alert message, open the alert box, and then set all the values whatever we are getting in the parameters. All right. And then finally, if you are dismissing it, then I'm setting is alert open to false, and alert button array will be imported now. Now let's go to our app.component.html file and simply pass this particular functionality also. For Ion alert, the component, we are going to import it directly, and simply pass the things that we need here. All right. So once that is done, we are good to go. So this is also ready. What else do we need? Well, we need one more thing, which is to work with the loading part. That is utmost important because we are going to use it for each and every function, so that there will be a loader to show up, so that we don't click anywhere else and do anything else, which is not going to be a good practice. For doing so, I'm going to implement Ion loading. But before that, we have to again prepare the functionalities as we did earlier, the properties and the functions which we have to prepare, with the help of which we can control the Ion loading in throughout the application. So after the Ion alert properties, whatever we prepared, I'm going to prepare one more for the is loading open. First of all, this is just a flag to tackle true and false, with the help of which we can open and close it up easily. Other one is for the loading state, which will be the string that we are going to display. All right. Now for this also we need to prepare the functionality, which is actually quite simple. I'm going to call just one function, use loader. You are going to pass a value and a string, whatever you want to pass. For error messages also you can pass. For normal success message also you can simply pass it up. All right. So that is what I'm going to do here simply. So after this is done, I'll go to app.component.html file and start working with it, the Ion loading. This is done. Just hover on it. It will get imported and all the errors will go away. Now, if you have any other property to be passed, simply you can work around with it. I've made it in such a dynamic way that you can do whatever you want here. All right. With this, we have successfully prepared our global service. Now we are ready for the main part, which is the form part. So let's work on that now. Now we will start working with the creation of room, for which if you click on the Fab button, it should open up a form, right, in a model. So how do we implement that up? For which actually we have to create a click functionality for our Fab button. So let me pass a click function here called open room form. You can name anything you want. Now we are going to work with it in our TS file. So basically we need to put up a flag. So I'm going to do it at the very bottom here itself. So which will be a Boolean flag. We are going to use writable signal function, of course, that we are doing throughout the application. So once that is done, error should go away. No, actually we are using a function. So we need to call this function and the process is the same. Now it's time to work with the function to get rid of the error. So what am I going to do? I'm going to create open room form function, in which, yes, I'm going to set is room form open to be true, but I'm going to prepare the same form for editing also. And what we need to do for that? Well, I will pass a parameter here called room, which is optional of type room, and import room, which is already being done, I think. Yeah. Now what I have to do, let's first remove the mock data. We don't need mock data anymore. I'll keep it in a commented manner so that if you want, definitely you can work around with it. All right. Now let's move ahead, and I need to prepare for editing part also. Basically, when you click on any existing element, or I would say the card which is present here, then what will happen? Okay, let me just get rid of this to get rid of the error. Now the error will go away and we will be able to see everything. If I get back, no, there is nothing in the rooms, which is pretty fine. That's what we have done. Now, whatever cards you were seeing, if we execute any one of those, let's say if I am hitting click, on click, as of now, we are redirecting to the devices page, right? Where we can see the devices for a particular room. But here what we are going to do, if you click on anything, like if I want to edit something, so if I click, I'm getting inside the devices part, but how do I perform the editing part? So what am I going to do? I'm going to work with the gestures here. So if you long press on it, on any card, then it will open up something for addition, deletion, whatever you want. Those things will come up. And if you click on edit, then what will happen? The same form will pop up in a model with the values. And that's where we are going to perform the editing. All right. Maybe a little confusing for you, but don't need to worry. I'm going to show you step by step. So first of all, this is how I'm going to prepare a property, which is writable signal function, that is going to hold either room value or undefined. By default, it is undefined. Okay. Now, Whenever we are opening the room form, then what am I doing? If room is present, then I'm setting this particular value. So whichever value it is, I'm just setting it up. Whether it is undefined, I'll set it up. Whether it is room, I'll set that also. That is what I'm going to do here. So if it has some value, then that means we are going for editing part. And if there is no value, we are just going for addition, and rest of the form will be the same. So this part, the editing part, just simply think of it up till here as a normal property if you don't understand the editing part, because when we build the form, then you will understand it much better. Okay. For the timing, I'll just keep it as it is. Error is gone. It's time to work with the ion loading part. After the ion fab button, I'll work with ion model. Now in the model, what I'll do, I'll first pass an identifier with the help of which we can do certain tasks. We actually get a instance of this ion model to be used wherever we want in the TS file also, using the view child if you want to. And we will pass a property called isOpen, which is very, very important, and it will set to open only if isRoomForm open if it is true, and it will be a function, of course, so ideable signal function. The next thing is did dismiss. On dismiss, what we need to do, which is very, very important, otherwise we will face a lot of trouble. So dismiss, on did dismiss, we are going to call a function. Let me name it as set room form. All right. And I'm going to set the value as false. Now, what am I going to do in this particular function? Let me just show you. I'll go to the TS file, and here after ng on init, I'm going to call a function called set room form, where I will accept a boolean value. And I'm going to set whatever the value it is, I'm going to set is room form open to that particular value. That's it. And I can use now here also the same stuff. Instead of doing this in this particular manner, I will pass set room form. That's it. It's pretty easy, right? I can toggle the value as per I want with the help of only one function. That's pretty great. So this is what I'm going to do. And what's next? After this is being prepared, we are going to work inside the model where I have to pass the ng template. Now within this template, we have to pass our design part. Now, if I pass the complete design here, it's not good. We should use a component just to reduce our amount of code that we are writing here, and we can handle everything from there itself, right? But there is one problem. We will be using ion header, ion content, whatever you want, like the same way we do it in a normal page, right? But there will be a problem. What is the problem? Since we are using ion model inline component, so if I pass ion header, ion content directly here, then there won't be any problem. But if I don't pass it here and pass directly a component, then there will be a problem. What will be the problem? I won't be able to take the full height, okay, full height of the model, whatever it is showing up. In that scenario, to solve that problem, there are certain ways, but the best way is to pass here ion content in this manner and pass here full screen to be true. So I'm passing a single element which makes it a wrapper. So the ion content is the main wrapper, and within that I'm going to pass the ion header, and then again the ion content will be passed. So that is how I'm going to prepare it up. Now whatever I do here will not harm me. It will take the entire screen size and won't be giving me any trouble. But again, this is within the ion content. You need to remember that. If you don't do that, you have to pass everything within the ng template, like the ion header, then ion content and everything. Then also it will be fine. Basically, you have to pass the design here itself. That's the important thing. Okay, so far so good. Or if you want to skip some more things, definitely you can do one more thing, is that you can pass the ion header part here and then the ion content, and within the ion content, whatever needs to be done, you can pass it in a model. That is also acceptable. But I won't do that. I'll handle it from a single component itself. So let me create a component. I'm going to name it as Ionic G component C within the components folder, where we already have few things, I think. Yeah, we have the device card and the room card. Again, we have to prepare the form also here. So which will be named as room form. Hit enter. It will be created. And I'll create another form right now. No. Let's create it later on for device later on. One thing at a time. Now this particular form which we created, or I would say the component, I'm going to call it directly here app room form. This is what I'm going to do. So once that is done, let's try to import it. Hit enter, it will get imported. All right, once that is imported, everything is good to go. So what I need to do within this form, let's do it one by one. Let's prepare it for creation at first. So room form, go inside that and prepare it properly. But to prepare it properly, I'll go to the TS file at first, because we need certain things here like the imports, as we will be using the Ionic components. All right. So this is very, very important. Then what am I going to do? Let's get to our HTML file and start working with it with the Ion header part. So Ion header, that is what I'm going to pass at first. Then definitely I need the Ion content also. But within the Ion header, we have to do certain things like Ion toolbar. Now within this toolbar, we need what? We need the title. So the title will be the room name. Okay. And along with that, I'll pass a button, back button also. So both things needs to be prepared, which will be done in this particular manner. So I'm going to show you properly what exactly I have done here. See, I have passed an Ion title, which will accept the room data. Now room data is not present as of now. I'll show you how it will be done and how we can track it down, whether it is for editing the form or for addition of the form. Okay. Now hover on this Ion buttons and Ion icon also. It will be imported. So this is for cancellation of the model. Basically, I'm going to show a cancel button on the end part, not the back button is not required. If you want, you can have a back button kind of a stuff also. It's not a problem. But I'll have the Ion buttons at the end, a cross button, okay, which will call the cancel function. Whatever function you want to call, you can do it up. Now, let me prepare a property here. This is very, very interesting. So I'm going to prepare a read-only property called room, which will be equals to input signal, okay, that will be of type room, and it can be undefined also, of course. Let me call it undefined, or it can be, let's say, null also. Fine. I don't have to pass initial value or anything here, which is fine. Okay, let me just import it and it's done. So once this is done, what next we need to do? Well, we can definitely use it up as per the requirement shown here. Now we need to create a cancel function here. So let's do it. Cancel function. What I have to do within the cancel function? Well, I have to emit some event to be triggered. So I'll create an output signal here using this particular part. So on cancel is my event name, and I'm going to import the output signal from @angular/core. Once that is done, you can simply use it. I have passed of type any because there is no certain type of it. If you don't want to pass anything, you can simply skip it and keep it as void. But I will do something here. So this dot on cancel dot emit function will be called directly. And here I don't want to pass anything. So if I don't want to pass anything, I can in fact remove this particular part also. If I do that, it will be of type void and there won't be any problem. So basically this event will be emitted, but it will not pass any data. That's what I want to do. So now it is fine, and I will directly call it here in my homepage HTML file within this particular part. So I can have at first room, which will take the input value, and from where it's going to take, it is going to take the value from editing room. Now this is very, very important. So if we have some value in the editing room, that means we are going for the editing part. Otherwise, we are going for the addition part. That's what it is going to be tracked on, and we have prepared everything there. Just we need to pass the value, whether it is undefined, whether it is null, every value will be taken and executed in the similar fashion. Next thing is the event for on cancel. See how we are executing it up. On cancel event. If on cancel is called, that means I have to dismiss the model. Okay. So I can use this identifier which we created for the Ion model. You can use it directly in the TS file also, but we can execute directly from here because I don't need to use anywhere else, right? So what am I going to do? I'm going to call room form dot. I can execute all the functions which is related to the Ion model. That is the benefit of it. I'm going to call the dismiss function. Once you dismiss the function, the model will get dismissed, and on dismiss, this event will get triggered, which is going to set room form to false. That is what it's going to happen if you dismiss it from here directly, which is the best way. So now what will happen if I click here? Let's check it out. If I click here, see the model is opening up, but we don't see anything. Why? Because we have to do something in our, you can do it in the component or you can do it in the homepage itself, but I'll do it in the component level. So let me go to room form and go to the constructor. And what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to go for add icons and import it up. Now I'm going to pass the close icon. Okay. Now this is done. If I click on this button now, See, this is coming up, and if I click on it, it is dismissed. That's how it's working. Now it's time to work with the main part of the room form. Let's go for that. Now in the room form, I have to work with the ion content. So let me have some gapping and pass everything properly. At first, I'm going to have some padding for my ion content, which will be good. Then whatever form we are going to work with will be the reactive forms module. Okay, so reactive forms will be used here, for which I have to import here reactive forms module. This is the one imported from at angular/forms. Just check it here. So this is done. Now let's get back to our HTML file where I'm going to implement the form in this manner. All right. So form group will be used where I'm going to pass form. What is this form? I have to pass it here. Let's go for it. So I need to create a property called form, which will be of type form group, and I'm passing an exclamation symbol here. First, let me import it. So I'm passing an exclamation symbol here because I'm not passing any initial value. You can use signal function also here, but I don't want to use it. It's not mandatory. If you face any kind of a trouble, definitely you can do that up, but not important right now. It's fine. Without that also, it will work pretty smoothly. Okay, so this is done. Now we need one more function, because when we submit the form, this ng on init will be triggered. This event will be triggered and the confirm function will be called. So we need to create a function called on confirm. All right, just do that for the time being. Okay. All right. And here, when we are submitting the form, we need to tackle one more thing. If the form is invalid, if this dot form dot invalid, then we can simply return, or you can just pass a toast message also. I'm just leaving the option to pass anything you want. Okay, so far so good. Let's get back to our HTML file. Okay, this is not on confirm, it is confirm function. My mistake. Confirm. Now the error is gone. We need to work around within the form now. So within the form, we will prepare an avatar, bigger avatar, with the option of passing the image. We will have a simple button, a small button at the bottom part, which will help you to open an ion action sheet that will help you decide whether you want to take the image from photos or take a picture. All right. Or if you want, you can cancel it up. So we are going to use ion action sheet for that. But we will not go too far now. Well, let's first prepare the form. So I'm going to prepare a div within which I'll pass a class. First of all, some vertical margin, because this will be a bigger avatar which needs some margin, and you can customize a little bit. I'm going to pass an ion avatar within that so that it will be rounded by default. Now within this, we can pass the image, whatever is present there. Okay. So let's check the design, what is coming up. If I click here, I don't see anything. All right. Why? Now to show some design, I'll go to the SCSS file and work with the ion avatar here. Let me pass a background color to it so that we can see something. Variable -- ion color tertiary. Let's pass any color that might suit. And if I click here now, do I see anything? No, nothing yet. And this color is wrong. It should be ion hyphen. All right, let's check it out. Yes, we do see the ion avatar, which is great. It's time to make it bigger. So I'll pass width to be 7.5 rem. I think that will be fine. And height also 7.5 rem. Border radius, for which we have a custom CSS property available within the ion avatar. I think hyphen border radius will give us the thing. Even if I don't pass it also, still it's fine, I suppose. Let's check it out. If I click here, see, it's working nicely. Now, if you want to give some border, definitely you can try this out. Like I'm passing some light shade border. Let's check it out. See, it's looking nice. So you can just play around with it. You can pass some box shadow or something. That would look nice. Okay, so this is the thing which I've done for ion avatar. Now I have to center it up. To center it up properly, if I pass here, align to center, what will happen? Let's check it out. It is centered up. Great. So now as it is centered up and it is looking bigger, what I need to do? Well, I need to pass a small button here, which is very, very important. So after the image, where I'm not passing any as source or something as of now, I'll do that, don't need to worry. But after the ion avatar, let me first prepare the ion button here. Okay. Now this icon will not have any background, so I'm going to pass fill to be clear. And within this ion button, I'm going to pass an icon, which will be slotted as icon only, so that it will be having a big icon, and the name will be camera. So I need to pass camera here in the add icons, camera, import it up. All right, so far so good. Let's check it out, how it looks like. See, the camera icon is showing up, which is great. Okay, so After that, what I'll do, I need to align it properly. I need to align it up till here. How can I do that? This is important part. So let me do one thing. I'll pass a customized class here called, let me call it image container will be fine. And I'll wrap everything up within this particular div. So div dot image container, I think that's the way I do. And within that, we'll have an ion after because we are using SCSS. And then I can simply pass here the ion button and pass the CSS, whatever we need to work with. Now, first of all, I'm going to position the button as absolute so that we can change the position wherever we want to. It will be free from its original position. And this is how I'm going to do it. So bottom will be set to 0. So it will be at the bottom part. And then from right, I want 50% of 7.5 REM. That's what the size of it. And that's how we can do that to center it relative to the avatar. That's how we can do that up. So once this is done, if you check it now, it's gone, right? Now this thing is very, very common that it will go away. So in order to bring this back, what I have to do, I have to make the actual div in which it is placed, the parent div, to be having position of relative. Now you see the magic. Once I do that up and check it now, see, it's coming up. So that is what happens. You have to make one of the container, the parent container to be relative. Okay, that's when it will be placed properly. After doing that, I'm going to set the height and width for this particular icon. Along with that, some more stuff too. So let me change the background color and the icon color also I can change. So in this particular manner, I'm going to change the background so that we can have some border color also in a different manner. Now you will see something different. Let's check it out. See, I have a background color now, which is lighter color. The color of the icon is changed. I can change it directly from the HTML also, but we can control much better here. All right. Then finally, I'm passing border radius of 50%, making it round shape, anything lovely. That's what we need. Now, after that, I will do what? I'll work with the other part of the form. What is that? To have actually a box, an input box where we can type the name of the room. Now, in order to work with that, I'll simply pass an input directly in this manner. So an input, I'm passing a label of room name, label placement will be floating, and I'm passing a form control. I have not prepared the form as of now. You must be wondering. Don't need to worry. I'll just do it right now. And form control is being passed. Then error text. If there is any error, I'm going to show that please enter a valid name, and that's it. So this is the input, and it is not imported, I think, directly. Let me just see. Now I get the option. I'll hit enter, and it will be imported now. Let's check it out. All right, where is it? See, there is no ion input. That is the problem. Sometimes it happens. So ion input, pass it up. If you don't do that, you will enter a lot of trouble. So after doing that, this is sorted and we need to create the form. So let's create the form at first, then let's go ahead. So in the ng on it, it's better to do it in constructor also. Anywhere you can do it. So I'll just set this or form equals to new form group, of course. And within this, I'll prepare, yes, I have to prepare the name. But instead of doing it in this particular manner, I have another idea. Let me use form builder. That will be better. This is a simple form. I can directly use the form group, but I want to show you the form builder. So let me just do it here. This is how we are going to inject the form builder, and let me increase the size of the screen so that you can see everything properly. Now this form builder gives us the opportunity to use grouping, the controls and everything, whatever we need directly here. Along with the form builder, we also need one more service, which is the camera service. So I'm just injecting everything from here itself right now so that I don't have to do anything later on. Okay. So the injecting part is done. Now directly I'm going to use this dot form equals to this dot fb dot group. That's how we will use it. And name and image will be passed. Great. So this thing is done. And what else do I need to do? Well, here I'll make it validators dot required. This will be required field, of course. And same goes for image also. I need both of them to be having a required field. If you don't pass that, the form will not be submitted. That's what we are going to do. Now, why am I getting an error here? Room image does not exist on type. Okay, my mistake. This is a writable signal function, which is read only at present, but I have to pass this function here. Okay, so once that is done, all the issues are sorted and it is passed in ng on it, so it will be set up properly. Now I won't have any issues in checking the design. Let's check the design. See, it's working. Great. I can see everything working properly. So now the error text is passed, everything is passed. What else is left? We need to pass a button. I'm getting the error and everything, but actually the border and anything, nothing is showing up. So I need to wrap it within an ion input. I think that would be better. Let's check it out. First of all, let me keep it as it is and work with the other stuff. Well, that is nothing but a button which I need to pass. Expand block, type is submit. So the type is very, very important. If you don't pass type to be submit, this event will not get triggered if you click on that particular button, which is very, very important. So type submit is utmost important. If you're working with any other button, pass the type as button if that is not used for submission, which is utmost important. So mode is iOS because I want design of and iOS devices, and that is why it is bigger and it is cooler. So I'm just trying to use it up. Disabled if form is invalid, of course, that is why it is shown as disabled. And finally, I'm just passing some margin top. Here also I need some margin top. So let me just pass it here. Class equals to ion margin. Let's call it vertical would be better. Not been passed or what? How about padding? All right, padding is working, but this is not a good idea. Still, we don't have a proper setup here. Let me do one thing. I will pass a border to this ion input. That would be better. So let me work on it in SCSS and work with ion input. Pass a border of 1 pixel solid, which should be the color. It should be the light color or actually the dark color because we are in dark mode right now, right? So iron color dark would be best. Let's check it out. Now I don't see anything, which is not good. Well, actually I'm doing wrong. This iron input is should be outside of this div. Okay. Now I think it will show up something. Yes, it is showing up. We have passed the padding, which is not good. So I will remove the padding and pass margin if it is applied. If not, then we are going to apply it directly from the SCSS file. Okay, better than earlier, but I'm still not happy. So let me pass it as, what was it? There was something in the variables which we have created for the white color. So I'm going to pass that up. Where is it? In the theming section, I'll find it. If I just scroll down, I'll find some colors which are being passed at the bottom for the dark mode, which is border color. So let me pass this text color, which will be better, I think. Not a proper name, but so I want to use the white color, but from the dark color, which is not coming up properly. So I got to do this. Let me try to pass it up. Okay, once that is done, everything is sorted now. Great. I can see everything is working fine. Okay, now what I'll do. First of all, I'll pass some padding in not in vertical, in horizontal manner. Okay, so now it will be sorted. Yes, great. Once that is sorted, what am I going to do next? Well, next actually I have to do a lot of things, but this is still not actually fixed. So I'm going to remove everything and start working directly from the SSS file. Now look at this. What have I done? I'm passing some padding. Border radius is already being passed and padding start. And this is allowed directly. So custom CSS property is already there. And I think padding inline end is also there. So I'm passing 5 pixels to each and passing some margin on top and bottom. Nothing on the left and right side. So we have some spacing, which is looking nice. And we can just type whatever we want. So now the form is ready. If you want the bottom spacing to be little lesser, definitely you can work on that. But if I want, I can reduce the top size or top spacing to be 3 pixels and the bottom spacing to be a bit more of 5 VH, sorry. That will look better, I think. Possibly, maybe yes. And if you don't want the border on all sides, definitely you can pass border bottom. That's what you can do. All right, that will also work. What about this border radius? I'll just remove this border radius if you don't need that. And now you can see there is another 2 borders that are coming up. If I just remove it, you will see there is another border that is coming up. Now it is showing up. Earlier it was not showing up. So now it is better. Everything is sorted. I don't need to pass any border now, which is looking good. And I think 3 VH is better for everything. We don't need to do anything else. See, designing takes a lot of effort and you have to be very sure about all the things that you do. That is what we have done. Now everything is sorted and this form is almost ready. We don't need to do anything else, I suppose. Well, actually we do. We need to perform the click operation. If I click here, nothing is happening as of now. I need to do something for that particular part. Now for this part, I have to work with the action sheet. And for action sheet also, I can perform in the similar fashion that we did earlier in the global service. So let me just prepare it here. Ion action sheet. I'll pass is open and pass in the similar fashion. Then what else do I need? So these are the properties which I need to pass, and let's prepare it in the global service. I'll do it here at the top after is loading. So is action sheet open. The next thing I'm going to prepare is action sheet state, in which it will be of type signal, of course, and we are going to accept action sheet options. These are the ones. Import it. Once that is imported, I can pass the options directly. So what all options do we need here? Well, we need to pass header, button, and anything else? Well, nothing else. I think that would be better. So this is ready. Now, after doing that, we have to prepare the functionality for it. So let me call show action sheet, where I'm going to set the value as true and set the headers and the buttons, whatever is being passed from here. Now, along with that, we'll also prepare one more function called on action sheet dismiss, and I'm going to set the value as false. Now, there is one error which is coming up that we need to sort is with the buttons. Why? Let's check it out. So if I hover on it, type alert button is not assignable to type string or action sheet button. So here, by mistake, I passed alert button. It will be action sheet button array. Okay, once you pass it up, the problem will be sorted and you will be able to use it up now. So we have prepared the action sheet also. Now we can simply use it up wherever we want. Let's go to our room form. So room form TS file. What we need to do? Well, actually, when we click on the button, then only we need to execute something. So this particular button, if I click here, on click of it, I will open up the action sheet. So let me call it open camera option function, and let's prepare it in our TS file. So I'll go to the TS file and start preparing with that. Let me just do it here. That would be better. Now within this function, I'm going to call this dot global service, which we need to inject, which I haven't done here. So private global equals to inject the global service and then import it up simply. After that is done, let's use it. So this dot global dot show action sheet, in which I need to pass the header and the button. So in the header, I'm going to pass select image source, and within the buttons, well, I go to prepare an array. Let me call it constant buttons equals to this particular array, in which I'm passing the text as camera first of all, then the role is destructive. You can remove it if you want to. And then you can pass the data. What will happen? It will pass the action value as camera. We are going to detect and work on it. Don't need to worry. Then on text photos, again, an action will be detected. Then if you click on cancel, the role is cancelled, so it will get cancelled out. So that is what we are going to do. And let's pass this up directly, BUTTONS buttons. Done. After that is done, it is sorted. Now, how do we work with this particular functionality? That is very, very important. Now, after creating this functionality, there is one more issue which we need to tackle. What is that? See, we are passing some action here. Now, in order to tackle these actions, we need to trigger on action sheet dismiss, right? But where we are actually using that up, we are using it in the global service. If you check this out here, let me just show you that part. In the services, if I go to global service, we are tackling it up here. And I'm setting is action sheet open to false. But that's not the only thing we are doing. We are doing something different. We will actually get an event here that will be of type, let's say, any or custom event. And in our main app.component.html file, what exactly we are doing, we are not passing anything here. So I'm going to pass the event in this particular manner. Okay. After this is done, what next I need to do? Let me just show you up. I'll go to the service once again. Now in this service, we need to do something very, very important to actually fetch the value out of this event. In order to do so, I'll make another property here. Let me call it action sheet dismiss. So it will be of type obviously signal. It will be of type any because it can have any value. And initially, let me pass it as null. I think that would be fine. Now what I'll do, if there is any change, means if we get any event, I'm simply going to trigger that up. So this dot action sheet dismiss dot set this particular event. I think the name is not matching. Action sheet dismiss event would be better. So I think this name will be better. So let me just pass the same name. Okay, done. After doing that, how will I get the value out of it in my home page? Or I would say not in the home page, in the room form. this is very interesting part. See, we are already accessing the global service, so we don't have to worry about fetching the value. Why? Because I can directly get the value. But where will I get the value? That is utmost important. Actually, I'm going to get the value within the effect. So effect I'm going to use within which any signal functionality change will be triggered. So let me first import it. Once that is imported, I have to create something. What is that? Well, let me call it, or I should do it at the top probably, action sheet dismiss event. Same name can be given. That's up to me. I'm giving the same name and we'll use the computed signal here. So let me import the computed signal and let me pass here this dot global dot action sheet dismiss event. So I'm going to fetch the value here directly and I can only read this particular value because in computed we cannot write it. So I'll fetch the value out of it. So whenever this value changes, the value of our property action sheet dismiss event will also get changed and it will be triggered in the effect. Now in the global service, I have done something. What is that? Look at that. Action sheet dismiss event. I'm setting the value not only directly the event, but inside the event, we are going to get detail, data, and then within that the action. This is what we are going to get. I'm fetching this particular data out of it and setting the value here. Once we do that up, I'm going to fetch this particular value in my rooms form directly. Now, I want to tell you one thing that I already recorded this part, but unfortunately I lost the clip. So I'm going to explain you this particular part again. All right. What exactly we are going to do here. Don't need to worry. You will find it pretty smooth. So now let's get back to our home room form. And in the room form, what we have done? See, at first, we already have prepared the computed signal where we are fetching the data of the action sheet dismiss event from our global service. Okay. After you do that up, whatever change occurs here will be detected into the effect that we have prepared. Now, in the effect, I'll access this particular value directly and we'll check if we have the camera as the action because that is what we are passing. If it is camera, then we will call this dot take picture function in which I'm going to pass camera source dot camera and this camera source is imported from, look at that, where it is imported from, okay, add capacitor slash camera. So I'm using that up directly because we need to pass the actual value, whatever we want to use. If you want to use camera, simply pass camera. If you want to use photos, simply pass photos. That is what we have done. And this is what we have prepared in our open camera options function, right? So this is the action which we are passing within our data and that is what we are triggering. If there is cancel, we are not going to perform anything because the rule is cancelled. So it will get cancelled out automatically and we don't have to tackle anything there. Once that is done, this take picture functionality I have prepared and I'm going to show you what exactly I have done there. But this is the only thing you need to do. That's it. And apart from that, I have also prepared one on confirm output event which will be of type room but not exactly room because we are just going to pass name and image. So you can make it partial room. That would be better. Partial. That is looking much better because only few data we are passing from the room. So this is ready. And along with that, I have also prepared another writable signal here called image source which will be used to actually fetch the value of the image whatever we will be selecting and prepare that up in a writable signal function. The path actually I'm going to pass it here so that we can show it on the screen and while saving also we can work on that. But this is only for showing, don't need to worry. Now when we are going to use it up, I'm going to show you and what changes we have made in our UI, I'm going to show you that part also. So let's first get back to the take picture functionality in which it is going to accept a source which will be of type camera source. Now here I'm directly calling the photo service which is actually the camera service. I'm going to get photo out of it. This is the function which we have already prepared where we are passing the source. If you don't remember, let me get inside it and show you up the camera service. Now you can recall whatever we have done. Now here if we have some error, we are returning null and we are returning captured photo if some photo is captured. Okay, remember this point because here we are not doing anything within try catch block as we will get a value out of it. If it is null, then we are not going to perform anything. But if you get a value out of it, Then we are going to set our image source to the value of webpath because this will be used for displaying in the view. That is utmost important. And then we'll get the file path out of it if it has path, because mostly we'll get web path and path also when we work in Android and iOS. In web, you might not get the path sometimes. But here we are tackling everything. If you don't have the path, you will simply set the value as web path. That's what you need to do. And then we will update our form using the patch value function. But here there is an interesting thing that we are doing. We are using capacitor.convert file source, which is utmost important for converting a file path into a usable source depending on the native web view implementation value and environment. But it's going to do it very easily and we will be able to save it properly. Okay, so this is very, very important. Now our form is updated and you have to import the capacitor from @capacitor/core. That's what you need to do and you are good to go. Okay, once you do that up, take picture functionality is ready and our form is also updated. Now it's time to prepare the show functionality, which we have to do it in our HTML file. So in the HTML file, what we have to do, if we scroll towards the top actually, within the avatar, earlier we had just an image, no source, nothing was applied, but I removed it and passed this condition. If you have image source available or if you have the room data available, because if we have the room data, then also there will be an image that is going to show up. Okay, in both the cases, I'm going to show up the image and I'm going to fetch the value in one variable itself. How? I'm going to check if image source function is available, which means it has some source value, then I'm going to directly fetch the value and pass it in the room image. By using @let, we can create a variable here within the HTML itself. That's the best part and get the value out of it. But if it is not present and we are into the updating mode, or I would say editing mode, then definitely room data image will be passed directly because it is a mandatory field. Definitely if you don't pass that, we'll get an error. And I'm going to show you the error what I'm going to pass. Don't need to worry about that part too. And then finally show the image where I'm going to pass this particular source, and this is an alternate value that I'm just passing. This we normally do. So just a normal simple image is being present. Don't worry, I'm going to show you how exactly it looks. But before that, everything is sorted, nothing else to do here. We are tackling all parts and preparing it for edit and update both. Now I told you about an event which I prepared called onConfirm, right? Now this will be used to pass this value of the form. So this particular part will come into play now. How? Well, let me just show you. Here in the confirm function, we are going to call that and pass the form value. So we are just going to pass the name and image value, which are mandatory fields. And also you can pass here a toast message, this dot global dot show toast, or I would say present toast, right? And the present toast, what message I'm going to pass? Please select an image. Now, what is the default color that we have passed? I think it will be danger, but let me just pass it for the time being. I forgot. And rest of the things will keep it as it is. Will not get any error because I have already passed some values there, default values. So this is fine, which we can show. And now the form is ready and it will just move directly to the home page. We are going to pass this value in the home page. Nothing else to do here. Everything is sorted. You can simply check whatever you might have missed out. I've explained each and everything so that you don't miss out anything and won't face any trouble. Okay, let's get back to our home page HTML file. And here I've already prepared on confirm. So guys, listen, I'm explaining each and every part. You just have to type it and that's the only thing you need to do. But this is what we have done and which is utmost important. So on confirm event is triggered here. You just need to pass. Earlier we just had on cancel and room input value that we were fetching from edit room. Now on confirm is also added where I'm passing a function called save room form, where I'm passing the event. Event will get the value of the form data, whatever we are passing from the component. It will fetch that data in the form of this event. This is how we do it. Dollar event is very, very important. This is the syntax that we pass here to actually get the value out of it and show it in this particular function. Now this particular function, what it will do, see, I'm using try catch block here where I'm applying a loader. So use loader function comes into play. It will show the loader, which will be set to true, and it will show a message called loading. And before I move ahead, let me just show you the catch block. Within the catch block, we are logging the error and presenting a toast message that there is some error and showing the danger color. Okay. And we are using finally to set the loader to false once again, because we have to hide the loader, right? That's why we have to use it up. In both the cases, try and catch. That is why you just pass in finally. Now coming back to the main part, look at this. What am I doing? I'm fetching the value from editing room. Now this is utmost important because we need to check here whether you're going for addition or updation. If you have a value within the editing room, that means you are going for updation. But there also I am specifying if you have room to update and room to update has an ID, then only you're going to go ahead. Otherwise, you're not going to go ahead with it. Okay. So if you have that particular value, definitely we are going for an edit mode, and we are going to call the function called update room that we have already created in our room service. Now room service is injected here. Look at this. Room service is injected here. Along with it, I have also injected the database service. We have made some slight changes in the database service. I'm going to tell you why exactly I'm going to use it up here. Global service is also injected. Along with that, I have commented the rooms writable signal function which we had earlier and transform it into a computed signal which is holding the value of room service dot rooms function, which is actually read only function which we have created there as public value. That was the reason we created it. Now it is used here, and computed signal and all other stuff you have to import it here. Just check this out, what all things we have imported. Okay. Now, once that is done, we are good to go ahead. I have done something here which I'm going to explain it in some time, but let's get back to other stuff. Here I have done one more thing, ng on need. I have commented the value because we are not going to get any data from mock data now. Okay. After doing that, what have I done? Well, let me just show you this particular part, this form part. So if you are into the updation mode, I'm going to update the value of what it is going to accept the data where we are going to omit device count. So if I reject the device count, I will have ID, okay, then name and image. These three things I am passing, okay, and I'm passing here an exclamation symbol because see, this is partial room. So it might not have a value, it might have null value, whatever it is. That is why a question mark is given that it might not have a value, but if it has, then I'm passing an exclamation symbol, which makes sure that you have a certain type of string value. If you don't pass it up, you will get an error. Let me just show you. See, you're getting an error. That is why we need to pass it up. After you pass this up and everything is sorted, then I will show that room is updated successfully and the success color will be shown for the toast message. In the else condition, we know that we are going for the add mode. In the add mode, same thing will be done. I will just call the add room function and make sure you are passing here await, because it will return a promise. We don't need the value out of it, but actually we are executing some other functionality after this. So it's better to have await here. Okay. Now here also in the add room, we are passing name and image, nothing else. So these two are being passed and we are good to go. In the ID, in the update room, remember to pass the room to update.id. That is utmost important. So this is the way we have created the functionality. If I get inside the update room, now here we have omitted device count, which we have already prepared. You already know about it, and these are the functionality which we have used. Now, what else we did in the add room also, I'll just show you up. In the add room, I added one more thing. In the add room, we omitted earlier the ID and the selected part, but now I am also omitting the device count because we are using partial room, so it will not have all the data, and if we don't pass everything properly, it is going to give you the error. So this is the changes which you need to do in order to work with everything in a proper manner. Now rest of the things is the same. I haven't made any changes there. Now in the home page, what all other changes you need to see? Well, nothing else. These are the only things. Once everything is done, I'm going to close the model. That is why this particular function is being called. So form will be closed. Okay. That is what we are doing. Now let's go to data service. Now what have I done in data service? Because I need to fetch the load rooms. So too many things I'm explaining at the same time. We are going to see the execution part, but in the execution part, you will see load rooms also. And that is utmost important for you to understand. And for that, you need to understand what changes we have made in the database service, which is very small change. I'm preparing a flag here to actually understand whether the database is initiated or not, because I'm going to load the rooms or fetch any data from a query only when the database is ready. So that is why this particular writable signal function of just a true and false value is utmost important, and I made it a private and prepared a read only like we did earlier in the room service part 2. Okay, so now here I'm just passing the value as true whenever the database is initiated and the tables are created. If it is not created, of course, then it will be set up. That's the only thing which we have done, and I'm going to use it up. Why? Because I need to fetch the rooms data only if it is true. So how will I do that? Let's get back to the home page. Where it is, the home page. There we go. In the home page TS file, what have I done? If I get to the constructor part, because in the constructor we can use effect. I have already shown you the effect part. Now effect does what? Whenever there are any changes into any signal function or computed signal function, all are signal functions only, right? So whenever there is any change in that, it will get triggered here automatically. And as soon as this particular function or this particular class loads, this will be triggered once for sure. And definitely you need to pass some condition here, because it might enter in an endless loop if you don't pass a condition properly. That is why I'm passing a condition if the database is ready, because this is how I'm denoting the database service. So if the ready function is called and if it is having a value of true, then only I'm going to go ahead and load my rooms. If it is false, I'm not going to do anything. Now we are going to call the load rooms function from the room service and show it up. This will do what? This will fetch the data and set the rooms. Let me show you. It will fetch the data and set what? Room state. Once the room state is set up, this value will also be updated automatically as we are using signals. So once this value will be updated, I'll go inside the home page, and in the home page, we are using a computed signal. So in the computed signal, whenever this particular value changes, it will get triggered here and we will be able to see the data in the UI. That's what it is being done. Got it? So this is the only change which we have done, and we have prepared everything here properly. Now it's time to show you the execution part. So for the execution part, it is already running in live reload. So let me just show you everything. Let's try to add something. Let me call it as living room and fetch the data, not from the camera because it's not going to work. So because we are in the simulator right now. Okay, so I'll fetch it from the photos. Let me select this particular one. It is coming up, and if I go for it, it's created. If I close it and open it up again, this will, okay, this is the earlier data that is showing up. Why? Sometimes it happens when we are running with live reload. Okay, it is still showing me bedroom because I created it earlier. But never mind. I'm going to check it again. I've closed and opened it up again. Let's try it once again. Living room. It's not a bug. Actually, we are running live reload, so that is a problem mainly that is showing up here. If I close it now after creating and open it up again, I do see the value coming up, which means everything is working fine. It was just a live reload which is just stopped here, which is fine now. Okay, so that is what you need to do, and everything will work as expected. So we are able to actually add the data properly, and obviously we are able to see everything with the image. Not here, I think it's broken or something, but don't worry, I will prepare the functionality now for deletion and updation. We'll prepare that up, and for that we will be using gestures, which is very important part. So now we are going to move to the gesture part. So let's work on that now. Up till now, you have seen how we have created the room form, and also the creation of a room is being done. That is handled properly. You have figured out that there is one issue that you are facing with the image. That image is broken most of the time, right? In my iOS simulator, you have already seen that. Now I have implemented the same in Android also, and from now on we will work in Android, because we get to see Chrome inspect tools, with the help of which we can open it directly and see all the console log, which was little bit troublesome in our iOS simulator, because we have to hit the reload button. If we hit the reload button at that point of time, the load rooms will not take into place because we have passed it in effect. Okay, Probably that was the scene. For the time being, I'll keep it as it is, okay? And use the Android. Most of you might be comfortable with Android, so let's go with that. So why this is breaking? Now see, what is the problem? The code that we are passing here, we are just converting the file which is present in a cache. Okay, so we are just saving the file URL which we are getting in a which is temporarily stored in a cache memory. Okay, if you just check the URL here, look at this URL. This is the load rooms data that we are fetching, and this is the data that we are getting in the image. This is the URL. Now this URL is coming from a cache or whatever we are using in live reload. That means it is not going to stay for a longer period of time. It can get away anytime. So how to save it properly? Well, in order to work with it properly, we have to save it in our file system, and for that we have to use at capacitor slash file system, which we will look into later on. For the time being, things will work and we need to complete the editing part or updation part. So let's work on that part. But you need to remember why this is breaking, which is utmost important, and how we can fix it up. I have already explained that part. How to actually fix it, we are going to check it later on. Now let's move ahead and check with the other things which we require for updation. What we are actually doing, we are preparing everything whatever is needed for updation also. Like if I check here, whenever you are opening the form, if we have some data passed, then it will be set here, and we are sending this data directly to the model. If you have already seen that, just look here, we are passing this data. Now how to call this up and pass the actual room data? For that we have to use gestures. Now how to use gestures? Well, this is my GitHub account, and here if I go to repo and search for gestures, because I have already made a video on that. So I'm going to search for gestures, and you see we have made swipeable tip. We are also accessing Angular 6, Ionic 6 gestures. Version doesn't matter, but the functionality will be same, of course. So let's check it out here. What do we have? So I have the directives where I have gestures in which I can access all of it, like press, swipe, tab, double tap. But if you want specific, like for press a different one, swipe different, tab different, double tap different, then definitely you can work on this particular part. So I'm going to use the same directive in my application. So let's create some directive here. So Ionic G D4 directives. Within the directives folder, I'm going to create another folder if I need to use press, because if I long press on it, I want to open the options for edit and delete. That will be done in a action controller. So let me just go for that. Press folder will be created, and then I'm going to have a press directive. Now this is created. Just check this out here. We have the files in ready. Along with that, I want to click and get to the next page, which we are doing as of now with the help of router link. But there will be conflict if I long press on it and execute router link at the same time. So if you want the click and long press to be detected properly, definitely you have to work on gestures, and that's where tap comes into play. We're going to use tap here, for which I'm going to create another directives. This time it will be for tap, single tap. That's what we are going to use. So both of them are created. It's time to actually implement it up. Now you can just check this particular code which we have here for press. 90% of the code I'm going to take it from here only, which is required, of course. So you can simply check it from here, or if you just want, let me just show you directly. I'll hide my terminal and replace the entire code. Now the class name will be also be changed press directive, because I want to pass that up. I have an output event, so I'll be using directly the decorators output and input, whatever is required here. Okay. Then press enabled is set to true by default. Earlier what we were doing is, in this particular part, what we were doing, look at in the press, I was just passing in press gesture name enabled to false and interval in this particular manner, but now I have separated everything. Okay, this is how I'll be doing this stuff. Okay, rest of the things you will find everything same only. Okay, just check this out. I'm not using ng on it here, not required to set it to true. I'm just setting it to true by default. As soon as it is called, it will be set to true. On press start, if it is not enabled, then simply return. And whenever you stop pressing, then it will emit an event. And after emitting the event, it is going to reset the tabs. This is the functionality for it. Just the same way we are doing it here. Just look at it. The same stuff is being implemented. Similarly, we're going to implement the tab also and then start working with the main functionality, means executing this particular stuff. So I'll go to tab, and here also I'll change the class name and replace all the code in the similar fashion whatever we did earlier. Now, with minor optimization I have made to the code, like I'm not using ng on it anymore, which is not required because as soon as it loads, it will be true by default, so which I can set easily. So that is what is being done here also. Just look at it. So directly using the host listener, it will be for the click event for sure. Now here there is a check which is being passed that if there is only tab gesture, not double tap gesture, then only reset the tabs. Because mostly what happens, you can double click also. It will not work if you double click. So it is quite smart coding, and same thing whatever we did here, I have just implemented it up. You can just copy or you can just check my code. Simple. Okay. So I'm not going to explain in depth each and every line because there is a dedicated video that is available for this particular part. If you click here, if you just scroll down, this is the video that we have. You can just click here, go to the video, watch it properly, understand everything, and then come back and get the code also. Okay, let's move ahead now. Fine. Once this is done, I can use it directly in my standalone project. Going to, not here, room card. In the room card, instead of routerling, I can use it up, but I want to show you whether routerling works or not if we even use press. So I have to pass here app press. This is the directive, and if I hit enter, it will be imported. After that, I have to use the event listener, that is press. You've seen press.emit, right? So here on press, what am I going to do? I'll create a function called on press and pass the event. Let's work on that now. So what am I going to do? I'll just scroll down, and here I'm going to create a flag which I'm going to call it as is edit mode and set the value as false. It will be a writable signal function. Now to tackle the value of is edit mode, I'm going to create a function like we always do. This function will take the boolean value and set its value as per your requirement. Now on press function, which I'm going to create, I'm going to do the same stuff. Simply just log the event if you want to check whatever it's coming up. And our main agenda is to set this is edit mode to true. That is the only thing which we need to do. Once we do that up, what will happen? Well, if we do this, I can directly call the action sheet controller. Now there are two ways of doing so. Either I can do it from homepage, probably not in homepage because we did it in form, possibly yes. We have handled it here, how to deal with the action sheet controller, because we have passed it in app.component.html file. So we can call from anywhere we want. We just have to access the global service. So in order to access the global service, let me go directly here and inject my global service. So private global equals to inject and then pass the global service. Okay, import global service also. What's wrong? Okay, now the import will come up and it's done. After this is done, what do we need to do? How do we actually work with the action sheet controller? I hope you know, we have already seen here, right, what we actually did. So I'm just preparing the button and passing the execution in show action sheet. That is what I'm going to do again. So same functionality. Let me just copy so that you can understand what exactly we need to do. Now, instead of handling with the help of is edit mode, I'll just remove it because this flag will not be needed as we will be directly dealing with the action sheet controller. I thought that I'm going to show you directly the action sheet controller, but I forgot that I have already passed it in app.component.ts file. Now let's do it. So on press, what we are going to do, we are going to actually implement this particular functionality, the whole functionality. So I'm going to merge it with on press. So whenever you click on press, then you get a prompt. You get a prompt for what? You get a prompt for edit. You're going to go for editing, and here you have another option of deleting it up, where I'm going to send delete. And for delete, I can pass role to be destructive if you want to. And for cancel, it's going to be the same. All right. So this will be my array of for the button that will be shown on the Ion action sheet. And then we'll simply call this particular action sheet to be shown. Now the message, I'm going to change it to, let's say select, I'll pass action. Done. So this is a thing which I will pass, but as soon as it gets dismissed, I need to trigger it, right? How will I do that? Well, we have to use effect like I've already explained you in the form part. which we did here. Okay, so we're going to do the same stuff in our room card also. In the constructor, I'm going to do that in this particular manner and import everything. Okay, also along with that, I have to copy this particular part and paste it to room card. That is utmost important. Without that, the event will not be triggered. Okay, in this particular component imported. So far so good. We just have to call the functionality. So I'm going to remove this particular functionality because that's not what we are going to do in edit and delete part. So this will be for edit and one will have for delete. Now simply what I'm going to do, I'm going to emit the event whenever we get any kind of an action here. All right. So I'm going to prepare here two output signal. One is called edit item, other one is for delete item. Import this output signal and then you can pass a boolean value. You can just keep it as void also by not passing any type. All right, because we are not going to deal with this particular part. All right, we're just emitting the event and it will get triggered. That's it. So it's your choice. I'm keeping it as a boolean just to pass something. So this dot edit item dot emit true. Then similarly this dot delete item dot emit true. That's what I'm going to do. Simple, nothing else. Once that is done, everything goes back to where? To our home page. So in the home page, if I go to the card, look at it. So this particular card now will have what? Will have edit item option and delete item option. So let me go for edit room, or actually not edit room. We already have a function called open room form in which I'm going to pass, of course, the room data that we are already getting it from the for loop. So done. What about delete? For the delete, well, I think I have to create a new function for that, but I'm going to give you the option for an alert to show up, because if you click it by mistake, definitely it's going to be gone. So it's always better to show a prompt at first whether you really want to delete it or not. And if you want to delete it once again, then simply delete it up. Otherwise, don't delete it. That's the best option that you can have. So that is what I'm going to do here. Delete room alert, and I'm going to pass the room data here also. Done. Okay. So we just have to fix this particular function and we are good to go. So let's go to our TS file and I'm going to scroll down to the bottom where I'm going to create delete room alert, in which I'm going to take the room data of type room and we are going to work on that. Now here I'm going to directly show the alert using the global service that we already have. So this dot global dot show alert, I'm going to use it up where I'm going to pass the message as, are you sure you want to delete this room? And you can also pass the room name. Let me just show you how we can do that up. I have to change this particular part. So once this is changed, what I can do, this room, and then I'll pass the name dollar within the braces, then simply pass the name. That's it. All right. So this is done. Let's pass an hyphen. I think that would be better. Okay. Now I have yes, no options, and then I'm going to call a function called delete room. That will be much better. And finally, I will also show a header called delete room. Okay. So this is done. Now let's create another function called delete room, which is going to accept room data of type room in this manner. And this function, obviously it will be private because I'm not going to use anywhere else. And obviously I will make it async because I'm going to use try catch block. So let's do everything within the try catch block. Now in the catch block, I'm going to pass all the errors which we might get and present the toast message if there is any error. I'll say that error, please try again. And finally, I'll just hide the loader, because I'm going to pass a loader here. So this dot global dot use loader, and I'm going to show loading and then call my room service. I'm getting all the suggestion here, but I'll change it as per my requirement. I don't need to pass it up. I just need to pass room question mark dot ID. That's what I need to pass because it is going to accept only the ID here. Okay. Once that is done, I'm going to present a toast message using global.present toast room deleted successfully, and the success color will be given. That's fine. All right. So I think we have successfully implemented the functionality. We don't need to do anything else here. It's perfectly ready. It's time to try it out. Where is my room? It's gone. Okay, because it is getting reloaded every time. Possibly that's the reason. Let's check it out. I have hidden the terminal. Let's open it up again and see whether everything works fine or not. So I'll just save and see whether everything works or not. So I'm just going to close it once. Now after closing, let me just open it up again to see whether everything works fine or not. Now I can see bedroom, which is okay. If I hit on long press, just see, I'm getting all the options. So live reload is working perfectly. And if I go for edit, what will happen? See, I'm getting the bedroom and the image is showing up. Since I created the image recently and that is why it is still present, if I stop and run it again, then possibly it might go away. Now, if I try to change something, let's say bedroom 1, let's try it out. See, it is getting changed. And if I close also, it will still be there. Okay, what's wrong? Let's try it again. Let's open it up. And you see the changes are accepted properly. Now what I'll do, I'll change it again to, I'll go to edit and save the changes. That is also done. If I have to delete it, what I'll do, I'll long press on it and go for deletion. Alright, I don't see the buttons coming up. Alright, the buttons are not getting applied. Why? I hope I have done it properly. I pass the alert buttons. Now why that's not taken, let's try it again. I think there is some issue with the alert controller possibly, or the Ion alert. Let's check it out here. In the HTML, Ion alert. On did dismiss, we are calling the on alert dismiss, so it should be working fine. But why it is not showing up again? Possibly, I think I should stop and run it again. That would be better. So let me just stop it and try to run it again and see whether it works now or not. Meanwhile, let me just check this particular functionality. We are setting it to false. That's pretty okay. Now let me select the device here and it's going to run. Okay, there is some error occurring. So in this scenario, if you have to run it again, you just do one thing. Sync everything, open it in Android Studio, then again run it up. So I'll just close the Android Studio and open it up from here. Okay, it's opened up and I have docked it outside. So it is having a view mode of window. That is why it is outside. And now if I hit the run button, it's going to run, and then once it runs, I can run the live reload and start working with it once again. So I'll just prepare everything. It's working here, showing up everything. If I hit this particular command, it is going to run again in live reload mode. Let's select proper thing and there won't be any error this time possibly. There you go. You can see it is working and I can see the data. Great. Now if I try it out, go for delete, I don't see the button showing up. Why? Now I just checked why the button is not showing up. Well, basically we have missed out one thing. In our app.component.html file in my Ion alert, I'm not passing any button. That's why it's not showing up. So we have to pass here buttons equals to global.alertState.buttons. That's what we need to pass. Now once we do that up, if you try again, it will definitely show up the data. But where are my rooms? I have to close it and open it up again. Don't worry, we are going to fix that part also. Alright, I have opened it up again. Now I can see that stuff. Let's go for delete. And this time we do get the buttons showing up. That's great. Now if I go for no, it's not doing anything. If I go for yes, what will happen? Let's check it out. Okay, there is one issue that is occurring. If I click on delete once again, it is not opening up. So it is opening only once, which is not a good idea. That means is alert open is not set to false properly or what. But it is happening here. We are executing this functionality where we are setting the value. So let me just see whether this is getting triggered or not. If I just pass console.log alert dismissed, let's see whether it gets triggered or not. And to check that out, what am I going to do? I'm going to go to Chrome Inspect Tools and hit here to see whether the display is shown or not. Alright, I found the problem. Basically, what we were doing is, whenever we were dismissing the action sheet, let me just show you. So if I press on it, the action sheet opens up, and if I click on delete, the alert box opens up. Alright. So as of now, when we dismiss the action sheet, what was the value of action sheet? It was delete, right? Now, if I do anything with the alert, doesn't matter. So if I hit on no, it's okay. Now, if the value is delete, it is not reset. If I press on it again, its value is not changing. So basically, if the value of the action sheet dismiss event will not change, then what will happen in our home page, whatever, not in the home page where we were accessing it up, in the card, right? In the card, in the effect. When will the effect take into place? Whenever the value of action sheet dismiss event will change, that is holding the value of the global service action should dismiss event that we saw earlier in the global service, right? So remember, this is very, very crucial. Whenever this value changes, then only the effect will get triggered. This is utmost important thing that you need to understand every time you work with all this effect and signals part. So what was the value earlier of action should dismiss event? It was delete. So when we click on delete again, if I try to long press and click on delete again, what is the value now of action should dismiss event? It is again delete. So if it is again delete, it is not changing. If it is not changing, it is not going to pass any action and perform anything because the effect will not take into place. It will not reach here. That is why what we have to do in order to make it work, we have to change the value of action should dismiss event in our global service. Let me just show you. Whenever we are opening the action sheet or showing the action sheet, I will set it to null. If I set it to null, its value is changed, and every time you go for a different action sheet event or action being passed, it will change the value, and as soon as the value changes, it will be detected into our room card. That is very, very important. Now, this thing will work everywhere properly and the events will get triggered in the effect, which is utmost important. So that is what you need to tackle properly. Now, along with that, what all things you need to tackle in the form also, the same problem might have occurred for the action sheet, and that is why now this will not create any trouble. We haven't changed anything in our room form or room card, but what we did in our global service will handle everything properly. Okay. So that is what you need to do in order to perform actions in a much smoother way. Now, one more thing I would like to see is in my home page. So whenever the event is getting triggered for delete alert, what am I doing? Let me just see delete alert. So I'm just showing the alert and doing everything. It's fine. So I don't need to do anything here because everything is managed where everything is managed into our global service. Let me just check it here. If you want, you can just put a condition that if alert is already opened up, then you can simply return. You can simply check that out, okay? By putting up a condition, that's it. Now let's try it again. If I hit on delete, see, it is opening up. I'll hit no. If I long press on it, hit on delete, again it's opening up. Now there is one thing which you need to understand. If I'm clicking here, it's navigating to proper place. So I think I can use router link as of now. It's pretty good, working pretty nicely. I don't need the tab event to be triggered, the gesture, but we have created that, and if you want to use it up, definitely you can use it up. All right, let me just show you that part. Where should I do it? I need to do it here. So if you want to use it, you have to pass it here, app tab. Okay, same way, app tab, and this particular event should get triggered. Once the event gets triggered, you have to call what? You have to call router. You have to inject the router and then call this.router.navigate function. Okay, so I'm just going to show you in commented manner what exactly I need to do. So basically, if you work with tab, you have to do something of this kind. All right, you have to call the router.navigate function and pass the proper route. And to use router, you have to inject it up. So for injection, let me just show you what you need to pass. So you have to pass it in this particular manner and import it properly from @angular/router. All right, that's what you got to do, and you have to remove router link from here. Now it will work fine, and you just need to pass here app tab. I'll just pass it. Okay, you have to import it. Remember, I'm not importing it up. App tab and this event tab equals to on tab event. So I'll just pass it in a commented way so that you can recall what we actually did. All right. So this is what you can do if the router link creates a problem for you. But as of now, it's working pretty fine for us. So we don't have to do anything here. Okay. Now this problem is sorted and we are able to see the editing or updation part. Why this is creating a problem with live reload? It will not create a problem in real device because we are not going to reload in this particular manner, of course. So let me go to the home automation once again and we'll see the room, and I'll go for edit this time. If you go for edit, and let's say if I go for bedroom 1 and save it up, it is saved and it will be saved. You don't have to worry about it because whatever functionality we have prepared earlier, it's working pretty smoothly. All right, you can change the image also if you want to. Let's try it out. So go for edit and I'll just select a different image. Okay, we don't have any image here. Let's try this up. See, it is changed, and if I close it, now look at this. If I open it up again, it's still working, and I'll long press and change it once again because this is not looking nice. At least earlier was better, not the exact one, but at least it was showing us something. So let's select this up and save it. It's fine, done. Okay, I'll change the name also once again. So I'm just playing around with it. Okay, got it, done. Now I'll do one thing. I'll create one more, or should I delete it? Let's first delete it up. Let me just go for deletion. And if I click on yes, it's gone. Now if I try to add one more, let's go for living room this time and select an image for that. Let me select the same image and create one. It's showing up. If you close the application and open it up again, you will see living room this time. Just check this out. See? So everything is working as expected. The deletion, the updation, the addition, all right? And fetching is obviously working. So this is done. The CRUD operation is perfectly working. We just have to work with the file system. That I'm going to show you at the end when you complete all this. If you need, let me know in the comment section, because I think I should cover up in a different lecture. So we'll tackle it later on. Let me know in the comment section. Now for the time being, let me keep it as it is and move ahead with the other things that is in the devices. So we are going to make our devices also dynamic, right? Let's go for that. So I hope you like this particular course. So with that being said, thank you so much for watching, and I'm going to see you next time.